Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies. We are inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh, thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Print management, document management. Let me tell you something. As I worked on today's Brief History of Triangle Good, the finale, our summer finale of Brief History of Triangle Good, I wish Copiers Plus could handle everybody's data and archival systems for cloud services. Because, buddy, is it hard to find some things on the internet? But that's not the internet I was promised. But Copiers Plus has the internet that was promised to you. So contact them today at copiers-plus.com. Before we get into today's finale of Brief History of Triangle Good, corrections and clarifications.
Big thing.
All mixed up, you don't know what to do. I guess we'll clarify and correct something or two. Because you know what Joe is not the first or the last. Thing they've got wrong in the past.
We had our Mondays mixed up. Last Monday, you went and golfed. I thought you were golfing this Monday as well as Chris Clark was filling in. No, you were moving James.
Best move yet.
Okay.
It was in the same building, an apartment complex right there on the edge of campus,
Mhm.
the boundary. And he was on the third floor last year and moved to the first floor this year. So didn't have to leave, didn't have to like walk to the car 9 million times. He's also a guy, so he really only had like,
I was going to say, how much did you really have
how
to
to move a chair, how to move like a mattress pad, his stupid Quiznos electric sign that he has from whatever year.
Hold up. Are you telling me college kids still are into an electric sign in their dorm room or their apartment?
Neon, I guess.
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah.
That's timeless because I had one.
Yeah.
I had one.
So anyway, it wasn't a lot, but it was a great move because didn't have to walk to the car that much, and it was inside. It was air conditioned, and there was like multiple elevators in the building.
Nice.
It's like one of those like super complex apartment complexes. Has like 14 elevators.
Oh, geez.
So you're not just sitting there
These
waiting on one like the dorm.
These
you know?
kids today,
These youths.
they don't know anything about like what the Cameron Park apartments right there on Hillsborough Street with no, I don't think they have an elevator. If they do have an elevator, it's like a submarine elevator from 1965.
Jessica's niece just moved into a new apartment complex in Fuquay.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have an elevator. It's a third floor.
Oh man.
And it was like PNC Arena, third floor. The steps were like, there was like 80 fucking flights of steps. And I'm like, really? And it was not inside. It was not air conditioned.
Hey, look, I need
your boy almost, that was almost like she works at the Harnett County Hospital. That was almost her taking me to the Harnett County Hospital. Like, I'm like, nah, I can't do this anymore.
Well, you got to give me pro tips because Caleb is entering his senior year of high school. So I'm not too far behind on this. Oh, geez, I got to move him into a dorm or an apartment or something like that soon. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm ready.
What's funny is we're also Gen X.
Yeah.
So I remember this vividly. My parents, my dad came down my freshman year and helped me move.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only time anybody helped me move. That's the only time a parent ever helped me move.
Oh,
my freshman year. Like the rest of it was, all right, here's your tuition check.
Yep.
You can handle the rest. And you want to talk about a minimalist. I literally did not have a pot to piss in.
There is a limitation in how many times you can ask somebody to help you move.
Yeah, even your parents
and your friends.
Yeah.
And there's only so many pizza parties you can hold to have them help you out. I know the last time I had friends help us move, we were going from our weird shotgun style apartment. It's like a quadruplex right behind the Char Grill off of Hillsborough Street.
Mm-hmm.
And we moved to Durham into an apartment complex while Kelly was in law school. That was the last time we had our friends help us.
Help you.
Because after that, it was like, we got too much stuff. And it's like, all right, we're all adults here. We got jobs. Let's just do that.
It was funny because like all these other parents were like in the same loop.
Yeah.
And then the one mom was like, I don't remember anybody ever helping me. I was like,
nice.
Yeah, I'm like, you're freshman year. That's the only one you get.
That's your one. That's your one.
We're the suckers.
Well, look, props to you. At least like there's evolution and like, all right, you're gonna help your parents. Like you don't have to repeat the things that your parents did, right? So there's an evolution there, number one. But hey, at least we're not of the generation that's coming up now where the parents want to spend the night at the dorm or the apartment.
Tell me about that.
Dude,
that
is a bridge too far. Like you had your time in college. You don't know. Let your kid do their thing.
What does the Mormon community refer to the person who bounces on the bed? Are they the bouncer? There's a name for it. Do you want to be that person?
All
Like,
right,
what are we doing?
Enough marinating. Let's get into a brief history of Triangle Good, shall we?
Triangle good, your team is really triangle good. Not bad or great, just triangle good. Pack wheels and Duke are triangle good. They're triangle good.
Big
I
thanks.
should not have put the coffee in my mouth.
What?
When I Googled this. According to the Wikipedia's, the jump hump assistant has been termed the bed jumper or the Provo pusher.
Provo pusher?
Provo,
Wow.
the home of Brigham Young.
I got the reference. Got it. Welcome to our final edition of Brief History of Triangle Good. This is our not so clever way to commemorate 25 years worth of Triangle sports packaged in summer content. And we could not have done this without our friends at Color Graphic. So check them out. Email them if you need any sort of signs, wraps around your car. Maybe you have an ice cream flavor and you need signage in the Two Roosters. They can do that for you. Maybe you have a beer and you need signage for Peace Street Market. They can do that too, like they've done it for us.
Maybe you have a golf tournament coming up.
Perhaps.
And you need signs that are made. I also can do this for you. Glenn has authorized me to give you a 10% discount.
Fantastic.
So just reach out to them at sales@colorgraphic.com. Maybe you're a business and you're trying to promote something. You're trying to jazz up your presentation. You're trying to have a little bit of polish. That's Color Graphic, our good friends at Color Graphic. So sales@colorgraphic.com. Mention this ad from the OG. You will get 10% off.
Now, you may ask yourself, how did I get here?
Well, we're going to explain it to you.
This is not anyway. Oh, wait, wrong thing. So Brief History of Triangle Good this summer was to accomplish a couple of things. The first one is to illustrate the point that history rhymes.
Okay.
That's goal number one. Goal number two, to Giglio's favorite axiom, nothing happens in the triangle in a vacuum. Usually if something's happening at one school, it affects the other school or both schools in this dynamic, right? But when we're talking about specifically NC State, North Carolina, and Duke, and specifically with the Carolina Hurricanes, there's a goal here to welcome in the newer fans that joined, and this will come up in today's 25 soundbites that explain the last 25 years of Triangle sports, the bunch of jerks breakthrough that has ushered in the current era of Canes fandom. And to give you a little bit of a brief history of how bad things used to be not that long ago in the ups and downs that went with a Stanley Cup final and championship in winning the Stanley Cup in 2006. And then, of course, the last thing, and one thing that I'm adamant about, is adding context to things that we talk about so that everybody's on the same page, young and old. And more specifically for the younger audience out there, to have a better grasp on why people act the way that they act about these rivalries and these teams. And in a way, you always tell me nobody reads anymore. This is the kind of stuff that would become a book. R.I.P. Al Featherston, one of the cornerstone books that I read when I started getting into this business, was essentially a version of a brief history of the Big Four. That kind of gave you all the things that you really needed to understand to get the context as to why things were the way they were in 2000.
Sure. John Feinstein did an unbelievable job chronicling the Hall of Fame coaches in this area as well.
Highly recommend the Legends Club book. That's a great, like, cliff notes. You need to get a quick synopsis of why things are the way that they are. That's another great book for that time.
Yeah.
So we've tried to, with Brief History of Triangle Sports, Brief History of Triangle Good, try to do the same thing just in a podcast form. And I feel like we should just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. There's no chronological order to this.
How are we doing this? Because I feel like you're about to Tarantino this motherfucker straight up.
Yeah, this is a little bit of free jazz on my part.
Okay.
All right. I kind of try to find ways to dovetail these things together to illustrate the points that I just made, that nothing happens in a vacuum and things are all tied together, right? So let's just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off, shall we? Let's go back to 2011. It's an NC State North Carolina basketball game on ESPN. And it's been a few years.
Oh, no.
It's been a few years since Herb Sendek left for Arizona State. And yet, Mike Patrick, the play-by-play man on ESPN during this game, decided to just kind of, speaking of free jazz, just kind of wing it with how things ended for Herb Sendek and how Sidney Lowe ended up as the head coach at NC State.
Herb Sendek had 5 straight years of 20-plus wins, had 5 straight NCAA tournament appearances, and was forced out for the tremendously popular Sidney Lowe. And Sidney has not been able to get it done. He has gone without the NCAA bid since he got there. Of course, nobody wants to make it more than he does. But you look back at the decision to force out Herb Sendek, doesn't look nearly as good, does it?
No, it doesn't. And there's been turnover, obviously, in the athletics department. Lee Fowler, who made that decision, is gone. Debbie Yao is there. And a whole different evaluation system for Sidney Lowe.
And he knows you've just got to produce. That's the bottom line.
Mike Patrick, 2011. Now, mind you, the reason why this
Was that with Len Elmore at the
that was
ACC tournament? Like, so it was like the end of Sid's. That would have been Sid's last game.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So this is crucial because you got to remember in 2011, this was probably the peak of national media having turned on NC State fans and giving them the business as it relates to know your role.
Sure.
Okay. And Herb Sendek, for whatever reason, was considered some sort of like, coaching mastermind. I believe that's what Andy Katz used at one point in time. And State fans were continuously getting beaten down by Gary Parrish and Jeff Goodman, Tim Brand. I remember doing radio hits with Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News, Tim Brando, all your national college basketball tastemakers, essentially saying it wasn't so bad when you had Herb, was it? Of course, that was also context free. But to say that he was forced out for the popular Sidney Lowe was a complete misremembering of how we even got to Sidney Lowe. But Mike Patrick did say something that was crucial there. Sidney Lowe understands that the results matter. And one thing that Sidney Lowe always understood was you got to make shots. And your best players have to be your best players. And this gives us yet another soundbite that explains the last 25 years of triangle sports.
Well, your best players have to be your best players. And then they have to make shots. It's the only way you can win.
Absolutely. 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 It's that Sid really had a hard time getting his best players to be his best players and had a hard time getting those shots to go down. Absolutely.
Brief history of Giglio covers sports. Sid was the first. So Ted Roof was the first coach I really covered, and we had a good relationship. But Sid was the first coach I covered who like texted me and called me and did all of those things.
He was an NBA guy at that point. So that's how it worked.
Like I was there was many a day in the carpool where Sid would call and we would talk, and there was a range of topics, and it was like, I just remember when it was over, and I knew it was over. He should have known it was over. But I had to say to him, I go, did you see the billboard when you left Greensboro? He's like, no, I didn't see it. I said, NC State athletics refusal to accept the status quo. Because at this point, we both knew that the game was on a Thursday. He was going to meet with Debbie on Sunday.
Yeah.
And the meeting had been set. And I said, you know what's going to happen. He's like, well, he's like, Herb got a 6th year and he didn't go to the NCAA tournament. Like, I go, right. I said, that was Lee Fowler. I said, Lee would have given you a 6th year. I said, that's not what Debbie's going to do.
Well, you're right about the Debbie part. There's also the context of where Herb Sendek was in the first 5 years to get the 6th year, coming out of the Les Robinson era and the internal battles that had taken place to finally break through and get to. And this is where I'll defend Herb, because I'll never forget a conversation Herb brought to the radio station around that time, where he was on the offensive, trying to get people to at least give proper context to where NC State's program was at that time. And he said that they didn't have the facilities, they didn't have the recruiting budget, they didn't have any of these things. And he was finally getting a breakthrough team, right?
Right. Julius Hodge recruiting class. No, I mean, here's the thing. Herb under the circumstances, right? Like we have to your point, you have to go back and look at it where they were.
Yes.
And now Herb's first year was Dean Smith's last year. So there was a little bit of a window there. Let's not act like it went straight from Dean to Roy. It did not.
That gets us to where we free jazz and we start to dovetail things. There's an era there that is complete. You talk about misremembering. There's an entire era of triangle basketball that has been memory hold, and that is the Matt Doherty run at UNC. And it got off to an incredible start where he finds himself in controversy in a win over Duke, and in order to settle his team down in the middle of a huddle, he made reference to the fact that, hey man, just keep in mind, I'm paraphrasing here.
Yeah.
Just keep in mind, Duke's got the ugliest cheerleaders in the ACC.
Right.
Okay. There is no audio of it because it was something that came through in an ESPN the magazine feature.
Yeah, he said it in the huddle, and someone was like sitting behind the bench or something like that.
And they caught it that way. However, it gets out there, it becomes a thing, and eventually he has to go on with Dan Patrick on ESPN radio in February of 2001. If you're watching on YouTube, talk about a throwback to what ESPN's website used to look like. And Doherty made the statement during a team huddle in their 85-83 win over Duke on February 1. The remark appeared in the Pulse, ESPN the magazine's webpage on ESPN.com, the ugliest cheerleaders in the ACC. This is where I shout out Copiers Plus and I need cloud management.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, real audio? There is no way that wave file or real audio player exists to this day. So I clicked on it and it took me to a complete dead page. So that's a shame. So we cannot find Doherty talking about this. But you can fast forward to 2003 when things were nearing the end for Matt Doherty. You know, everything had broken out. Dave Glenn of the ACC Sports Journal at the time had done a deep dive into the dysfunction behind the scenes that was going on in Chapel Hill with Matt Doherty and his players. Dick Fedora, the AD at the time, having meetings with players over the course of 5 days. I think they were up to 6 or 7 transfers if Matt Doherty was going to come back. And that's when Fedora said, well, man, I can't think about that. When did North Carolina ever really deal with transfers at that time? Right. So you're looking at a complete loss of a class. So they had the decision to make. It was either we can fire you or you can resign. And it all kind of culminated at the end with an unfortunate incident with Chris Collins, 2003 in Chapel Hill.
Chris Collins, Collins and Doherty. All right.
2 feisty players in their days.
And now Doherty's trying to get his players out of the mix.
Wojo down in there, Johnny Dawkins, all the former Duke players. But Collins and Doherty. Now Collins telling Coach K what took place. Oh, it was Collins talking to McCants, and what Doherty's saying, don't you talk to my players.
And then Andre Buckner got caught in between the Duke player. He got into it with the Carolina coach.
What's wild to me when I say things are memory hold, and I get back to the whole concept of history rhymes. What, you think handshake lines between Hubert Davis and the Duke coaching staff got spicy? You think, things ended with Rick Barnes wanting to yell at Dean Smith or Coach K getting upset with Dean Smith? Oh no, this stuff always carries over. There's always something that's a little spicy. There's a period of time between Duke and Carolina where things became cordial between Roy Williams and Mike Krzyzewski, and that's why it changed, because they had won national championships. They had become Hall of Famers. They understood that the game itself was a representation of basketball. College basketball is the biggest regular season college basketball game, still is. But in between that, or before and after that, you've seen that spiciness. And we saw that spiciness, obviously, with Matt Doherty and Chris Collins bumping chests and Andre Buckner getting in there as well. One of the more surreal things that we've seen in the modern era, or at least in the last 25 years, between Duke and Carolina. And then Matt Doherty wasn't long for the job after that.
Yeah, and this all kind of is the context of the push and the pull. Okay, let's look at this 01, 02, 03 period. And I think from the perspective of somebody who covered NC State, from the perspective of somebody who understood what NC State fans were going through, right? So 01, 02, 03, Carolina with Matt Doherty. The first year he was the national coach of the year. They were 13-3. They actually tied for the ACC championship. They got blown out in the ACC title game. It kind of fell apart from there.
From that point on,
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the next year they bottom out at 8-20. Then the third year is when he brings in Sean May, McCants, and Felton. It was a great class, a class that would win a national championship 2 years later, but he went 19 and 16. So again, you think about it. He had 2 winning years. He had 1 awful year. But again, he wasn't fired because of his record. He was fired because of the way that he was treating people behind the scenes. So there's that. But nothing happens in a vacuum. Okay. During that time, of course, now in 01, Duke wins the national title. During this time, Duke is on an unprecedented run of winning 5 straight ACC titles.
Unreal.
It had never been done before. The league was also down at this time. So that gets us back to the ridiculousness of the Mike Patrick comment about how he was forced out. And why aren't you happy that they merely made the tournament 5 years in a row? Because nothing happens in a vacuum. If Carolina's down and Duke's up, well, there's fucking room.
Yes.
And what State's room was, well, let me see if I could just, let me see if I could just sneak in.
It did take advantage of it.
Can I get, and it's like the door just gets slammed shut. Meanwhile, the real coaching genius, the reason they're called the Gary Williams death rules to this day and will be until I die. 01, 02, 03. Maryland goes 36 and 12 in the league. Herb Sendek was 23 and 25 over the same 3-year span.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A 13 fucking game difference. Maryland in 01 goes to the Final Four. Maryland in 02 wins the national championship. So God bless you, Mike Patrick. God bless you, everyone else who's still out there who thinks Herb was, you know what? He was a lot better than you people give him credit for. No. There was a war machine out there, and they did wear red and white. Somebody did fill the vacuum.
Put a pin in the Maryland thing, because it is crucial in this time frame that you needed a red team to fill that void with Duke.
Yes.
And it just wasn't State. It happened to be Maryland. So put a pin in that.
Wasn't going to be.
Put a pin in that. Put a pin in that. Because there's an important follow-up to Matt Doherty, what had happened, and Roy Williams having to come in and save the program.
I was going to say, Giglio Axiom, 312. Did something bad happen to Carolina?
Yeah.
And did it turn out to be a magnificent gift that they were able to make the best of? Why, yes.
So
that's exactly what happened.
We have covered and discussed that time frame of Roy Williams plenty of times.
Yeah.
We did a whole podcast feature with Roy after his retirement. But the part that I wanted to focus on here after Roy came back, and we've established multiple times how Roy Williams had to come back and essentially save that basketball program.
To quote Coach Smith, we wanted you the first time. We need you this time.
Bingo. So let's fast forward to 2011. What has Roy Williams done at this point as North Carolina's head basketball coach by the time we get to 2011?
He has already won 2 national titles to equal Smith's career total.
Yes.
Has obviously righted the ship. And also over this time, had now begun to beat Mike Krzyzewski regularly on a head-to-head basis.
That wasn't good enough for the radio callers.
And recruiting too.
No.
Because Harrison Barnes
wasn't good enough.
Whatever other players
Joe
at the time were.
Wasn't good enough.
Oh, okay.
They lost to Georgia Tech on a random ass weeknight.
Okay.
2011.
I was going to say, now in fairness, they were not a good team in 11.
Dude, they finished 29-8, 14-2 in the ACC.
Oh, different team. Sorry, my bad. 10 is the year they were not
10 was the year they went to the NIT.
Okay.
But they were good. They bounced back in 2011.
Okay. Yes, you're right. My bad.
So Roy.
Okay, this is a random Atlanta voodoo trip in January. They're patented.
Right.
They almost always lose this
Always
game.
happens. In 2011, coaches still took phone calls on their radio show. Okay.
I think I know where this is going.
I remember, hell, man, I remember my days at 850 The Buzz running the board for the old Steve Logan radio show, and the fireworks that would ensue after a loss where he had to sit there and hear from some guy and eat it was amazing. So Roy's doing this radio show. Carolina fans are mad, and Carolina fans always have an opinion. And this illustrates the interesting friction between Roy Williams, who came back, won 2 national titles, and had this thing running, and Carolina fans still thinking, yeah, but you know what, Roy, have you thought about starting this guy? Roy, have you?
Oh, no.
Did you think about a timeout?
Oh, no. This is the Larry Drew 2 year.
So Roy had enough. and he snapped on his radio show.
I'm not a lawyer. I am not a banker. I am a coach. So there's not one freaking thing that anybody's going to think about that we haven't thought about.
He continues.
I guarantee you, I've thought of everything that you could ever freaking think of.
And finally,
I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a banker.
you mentioned the Larry Drew stuff.
Don't be calling me saying who the hell should be starting and who should not be starting.
Woody.
With Woody in the background, just having a laugh, man. That iconic Woody Durham laugh, man. Good stuff. But yes, this is the encapsulation of the friction between Roy Williams and North Carolina fans. And shortly thereafter, they stopped taking phone calls on the radio
11
show,
would also be 3 years removed from Stickergate at the 08 Final Four,
which we've discussed in our previous brief history of Triangle Good in terms of top losses in that Kansas game. But again, an iconic moment.
I'm not a lawyer. I am not a banker. I am a coach. So there's not one freaking thing that anybody's going to think about that we haven't thought about.
Now, I hope now.
That's actually my favorite Roy clip. Not a lawyer. I'm not a banker.
The thing is, Roy's got some. We could do an entire episode of Roy doozies. I mean, there was a time where Roy Williams, with a straight face during, I think it was in 08 or shortly after 08. It was one of our various economic collapses. I can't keep track of them anymore. And he had the audacity to sit in the press room and look at all the people working for the newspaper business, which is an actual dying, if not dead medium. And I remember Bill Cole was on furlough.
Oh, yeah.
I think Bill was Salem Journal at the time?
Yeah.
He was on furlough.
Really?
Still there working on furlough.
He loved to call him Billy.
And Roy said with a straight face, there's not a person in this room who's felt the economic impact like me, because I think his son had just gotten let go from a bank job.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow. So there's a whole list of them, but that one, if we're doing this, is quintessential dynamics between Roy Williams and the fans, despite everything that man did in Chapel Hill. The fans always knew. No, but hey. You know, the energy was different when Larry Drew got in.
Don't be calling me saying who the hell should be starting and who should not be starting.
No, don't do it. I told you to put a pin in the red team.
Yeah.
Gary, Maryland. I'll admit, I forgot how nasty things got with JJ Redick, Maryland, or just in general, JJ Redick, Duke basketball, and the discourse around it. Because you mentioned that Duke had been running super hot at that point.
Yeah.
And people were just kind of tired of the Mike Krzyzewski, Duke getting all the love. This is how you do it. This is how you win the right way, all that kind of stuff. So here comes JJ Redick that really didn't do anything other than hit a bunch of threes on your favorite teams. And people got mad. Remember, it was a Wake Forest game, because it wasn't just all Maryland.
Right.
Maryland was just the hottest of it. But there was a Wake Forest game there at the Joel where they're in the middle of the national anthem, and somebody, I can't find the audio, but it's well documented that as the national anthem is happening, somebody decides in a quiet moment to yell, "Fuck you, JJ Redick." So that's kind of where we were. Of course, all of this was really heated in College Park. 2004, they're chanting all sorts of stuff. He's at the free throw line. Now, mind you, he balls out against Maryland in that game.
Yes.
But that didn't stop Maryland fans from shutting up.
He's 60, but then a turnover and 2 missed shots, and then the 2 fouls against Redick.
That's a season high, 25.
I think we can all pick up on what's being said there. This culminates in a 2005 College Game Day feature that JJ Redick sat down, read poetry, and explained. Chris Collins was the person who did the interview, not Mike Krzyzewski, just talking about, like, look, man, it's a kid here that we're talking about. And the things that had been said to him on the road, specifically Maryland, were nasty as hell.
November 5th, 2005. I can't see what my future has in store, but I move forth with the strength of a condor, the courage of a warrior.
Redick has been writing poetry since junior high school. He says it's his escape.
A sharp thorn once cut my soul. The blood flowed, but no bandage would cover the wound.
Now, this did not help JJ Redick.
No.
All it did was it added to the fuel. It added fuel to the fire of hating on JJ Redick.
Shouts to my guy, Seth Hoffman, in the old Terp Town.
Yeah.
Like, if you thought the camera crazies back in the day were creative or cruel or whatever, the Terp Town message boards that gave us all of these things, including the John Shire face thread that I believe was like 400 something pages.
It's insane. Yeah.
Ultimately had John Shire's face on Lee Harvey Oswald being like there was a true red hot burning passion between those two programs because the league was down and Carolina was down, and Maryland, after years and years and years, like, you think State thought that they were star-crossed. Think about it. Maryland, David Thompson is considered to be the best player in ACC history.
Yeah.
At least we got to see him win a national championship. Len Bias at Maryland, while yes, they were very good and he was very good, you have this eternal what if of, was there somebody who was actually a contemporary of Michael Jordan who was better than Michael Jordan, but because of a cocaine overdose, never played in the NBA. We never got to see it. And so it's like, again, about the eternal bragging rights in this league. It's always been about bragging rights. I saw the class of 93 at Punkage's house 2 weekends ago. And Kyle, who's the Carolina fan of that Carry High group, he was like, I was rooting for State in 24. He's like, all these guys stopped caring.
Yeah.
He's like, I wanted them to win so that they would care, so we could talk again.
Yes.
So we could talk about
that stuff matters.
And amongst your friend groups, it does. Because that was the thing at that time. It was like, well, what was Carolina doing? You were like running in place, The only team that stepped up was Maryland. And they did it on a national stage, by the way. I thought about this when we were going through this. The reason the bloodthirst in the team, the 2010s, existed for what would happen if Carolina and Duke played in the NCAA tournament? Remember, they became like this existential doom question.
If I wanted to kill time in the summer, that was something to bring up. Do you want this? Do you not want this?
The reason it existed, though, is because Maryland and Duke did it in 01.
Yes.
And it was an epic collapse by Maryland. It was an unbelievable comeback by Duke, and then topped in the national championship game by them winning the title against Arizona. So they were the precursor to, if you will, like, on the timeline, the gemstones, we had State Carolina, then we had Duke Carolina, then all of a sudden it was Duke Maryland, and it wasn't just for ACC supremacy. Duke wins it in 01, Maryland wins it in 02, and at the time, other than Izzo, they were running college basketball.
It's interesting. It was such a brief amount of time, and I hate saying this for the younger audience, but it was a classic. You had to be there to understand how hot it was. Maybe you're old enough to remember when Syracuse and Duke, when Syracuse joined the league and Jim Boeheim's ripping his jacket off. Those were some hot games, okay? Hot games, but never generated that kind of heat the way that Duke and Maryland did for a very brief amount of time. And the thing about, and this gets back to another goal, why are fans the way that they are? And this will come back to Duke a lot throughout this entire episode. The way, looking back on it 20 years after, the way JJ Redick was treated without social media, mind you. People act as though, oh man, social media is the worst thing that could ever happen to players. Actually, no. Because with social media,
plain old cruelty is still tops the list.
You can block all that crap. You don't have to log in. To go to College Park to hear that, the things that were said about his family, people throwing newspapers that were clipping other players' families, right? Getting phone calls 70 times in a night. He had to change his phone like 5 different times. That was nasty. And that's why Duke fans are so tired of like, oh, okay, well, who's, ESPN was guilty of this years later of like, well, who's on your list of most hated Duke players? Like, well, you're kind of adding to the lore here. Like, why are you doing
Peter
that?
Rosenberg, this is why Duke sucks.
Right. Now.
But that was the come up. That was that in the context of the ACC.
Yeah.
That was Maryland, original ACC member, never had any success. I mean, Lefty Drizel won it once in 84, speaking of Len Bias. Other than that, it was Maryland was the redheaded stepchild, and this was finally their big payoff after having to eat everything for all of those years from Carolina and Duke.
And then they went out with a whimper by finally getting the ACC tournament up in DC, and they were out in no time.
Yes.
And then
losing to Clemson of all teams.
But this is a brief history of triangle good, Joe. And there was a team with that Duke squad that was wearing red, not named Maryland, that did get him. Got him in 04. And it gave us this.
Your nephew just watched his uncle beat #1, Julius.
Yeah, we beat them. If they #1, then now we #1 according to rankings. But we don't want to take none of that. We want a good game against a good team, and we're still humble, and we don't want to be ranked. We want to be out of the top 25 because we still hungry. And when we hungry, we eat.
When we hungry, we eat. Now, that's the line that most people remember from that time, Julius Hodge, after beating Duke. When we hungry, we eat. Okay. But that's not the thing that I wanted you to focus on. I want you to focus on if they're #1 and we're #1, but you know what? We don't want to be ranked. That is such an NC State mindset that still exists today, by the way. No. Don't put us in the rankings. Don't talk about us. We'll surprise you. And that embodied Julius Hodge and the NC State mindset.
I'm like crying.
What's that?
I'm like crying over here.
Why?
I love Jules.
Yeah.
I love Jules. And last time I saw him was at the Final Four.
Yeah.
In 24.
Yeah.
And that was really the kind of cool part about it, was like seeing all these generations kind of come together and have that moment. But I didn't remember this. I remember the quote.
Yes.
But I don't remember the context of it. Okay. Now, I just want you to try to understand something without you looking it up.
Okay.
So the 04.
Dwayne Ballin, by the way, is the one who did the interview in the tunnel.
So they beat Duke at the PNC, which they were always apt to do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
They then improved to 9-2 in the league.
Uh-oh. I don't remember the rest of it.
What do you think happens in the next game?
I don't know.
They lose to Clemson. They lose the very next game. The very next game. Why don't you guys like Herb? Why don't you guys appreciate Herb? The very next game, they lose to a Clemson team that went 10-18.
Amazing.
The very next game.
Well, Joe,
there's a reason I had a whole chart for the Duke and Carolina hangover.
Joe,
the very next game.
What you're referencing gets to our last soundbite of this segment to encapsulate the mindset of NC State fans. Oh, you beat Duke. You moved to 9-2. You think you're turning things around.
You gotta be tough. You gotta be mentally and physically tough. Wolfpack ain't for soft. It ain't for soft people. It ain't for mentally weak people. You gotta be tough.
It ain't for soft people, Joe. Phillip Rivers, 2016.
In fact, if you look at this Clemson schedule from 04, they lost 9 of their last 10 basketball games that year. The only win was the win over State.
You got to be tough. You got to be mentally and physically tough. Wolfpack ain't for soft. It ain't for soft people. It ain't for mentally weak people. You got to be tough.
Got to be tough, Joe. Gotta be tough.
There's an amalgamation of the law there, right? Like Jules saying, we don't want to be ranked because when you expect the most, you get the least. And Phillip saying, it ain't for soft people, man.
You don't choose this life.
It's just ain't. You're going to have me for 4 unbelievable years. We're never going to go 5-3, better than 5-3 in the league. We're never going to win the league. Meanwhile, again, Maryland does win the league. Meanwhile, Maryland is the big thorn in their side. So
that might come up later.
Housekeeping.
Big thanks to Enovana. Check them out online at enovana.com.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
Again, go to enovana.com, green cleaning solutions. Some quick housekeeping notes. We've got the Sports Podcast Festival coming your way August 23rd. It's right around the corner. There's no better way to get hyped for this upcoming football season than week 0 at the Rialto with us, Split Zone Duo, and of course, our friends, Big Screen Sports. Go to the Rialto.com. You'll have OG Light access. You'll have access to some new hats exclusive to the Sports Podcast Festival.
Yes. Triangle Good, even
Triangle Good,
and the original ones. I like I feel like Michael's done an unbelievable job with the game style hats, the lines that you guys have seen me wear for my golf, and we'll have that in red, Tar Heel blue, and I think I have a Clemson one as well. Orange.
So
I have ECU.
I have an ECU one. Okay.
I do.
So that is exclusive to the Rialto for the Sports Podcast Festival.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you're looking to get some merch, you want to celebrate Triangle Good with the shirt. We got the Tri-Tower shirt.
Yeah.
You can get that at ogtrianglemediashop.com. Again, that's ogtrianglemediashop.com. You can buy the Comfort Colors pocket tee, the tank top, the OG Light shirt. You got this one, the Drunk OG. You got that one as well. And of course, there's another hat on there, the Golf Classic inspired hat, and of course the trucker hat. All that is at ogtrianglemediashop.com. And one other housekeeping note, speaking of websites to send you to, therialto.com, ogtrianglemediashop.com. Want to send you to oviesandgiglio.com. You will find a link to our audience survey. Tell us what you like, tell us where we can be better, that sort of thing. That feedback, crucial to what we do and how you guys receive the podcast. So go to oviesandgiglio.com and fill out the audience survey today.
I got one more for you.
Yeah.
September 26th, the OG Golf Classic.
Speaking of golf classics.
Yes.
The Rowback Golf Classic.
I literally have 2 spots left.
Okay.
Two groups.
How do you get in?
Email me, giglio.joe@gmail.com. I have, I only tell you this because we want to play this in 4 hours. So I capped this thing at 22 groups.
Perfect.
So we have 20 groups right now. If you'd like to get one of those last spots, that's where I cap it at, 22.
We have a new corporate champion for Ovies and Giglio. Let's go. Eric Eaton joining us in studio here at Eford Studios, NC Grill Rescue. You can check them out online at ncgrillrescue.com.
Perfect timing here because I know a lot of people are getting ready for tailgate season. And I know what you're thinking, Eric. You're here to the rescue. It's the perfect word for us because I think our audience is like, all right, what is Giglio trying to sell me now? Like, hey, I can go buy a brush. I can replace the great Giglio. Like, come on. But that's not what NC Grill Rescue is all about. We're talking about like detail here. We're talking like a makeover for your precious grill. This isn't like, oh, let me go throw it away and buy another.
Right.
This is, I've already invested in my grill and I want this thing to hum like it was day one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you really think about it, an outdoor grill, it's a major appliance that sits outside all the time, right? And what we offer is a deep cleaning, top to bottom, inside, outside. It is like a detailing for the grill. I'd say most average size, kind of that sweet spot for most customers as far as a grill goes. It's going to take us about 3 hours, start to finish, to do the full service. And when we're done, it's going to be so clean you can eat off of it.
When you say it like that, you now have me a little worried. Am I just pushing stuff around?
And
not really.
Yeah. I mean, most everyone has a grill brush and you're going to brush the grates before you cook on it. Yeah. And that's good. And you should do that. But everything you're brushing off is just kind of falling in the bottom, so that's where you run into issues with grill fires, with a built-in grill that's attached to your house. You have a fire in there that's not only going to ruin your food, but it's a safety hazard. So everything that's getting brushed off is just falling in and piling up in the bottom, and now that's a lot of fuel for a fire inside.
I'm actually thinking about the crusty bits of burger and butcher's market chicken, ancient family recipe chicken, like that gets under my Weber grill grate that I don't really clean, and I'm only it's adding to the flavor, right?
No one, right.
It's a little seasoning, right?
That's what they say. No one flips their grates over and cleans in between. We do though.
You do. That's the point that I'm making. That's what you're doing.
We do that part. Actually, all the parts that are not buckled down and attached inside the grill, so the cooking grates, any flame deflectors, heat plates, warming racks, all of those parts, we actually remove them. They go into a hot water bath. So it's a big soaking tank, and they soak in there for a good hour or so while we're scrubbing and scraping the inside of the grill.
So you mentioned it is an appliance. I'll think of it like any other big purchase that you make. Maintenance matters. And if you're going to find yourself, it's going to be cheaper in the long run for you to keep up with the maintenance than it is to just run that thing in the ground and then go buy a new one, especially if in a lot of cases, with a lot of new construction, people are putting these custom built patios and outdoor kitchens, right? Like I have a friend of mine who did this whole entire outdoor kitchen. I can only imagine what it would take to redo it if something were to actually break down. So you're out here making sure that these things have a nice long life and you don't have to go through that hassle again.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's kind of how I started it. When the thought hit me and we started the company 8 years ago was, people are investing a lot of money in these outdoor spaces. And it's a great, we're in a great area. You can use it almost year round, but you don't want to have to go and replace it anytime soon. Because the thing is that grill you have now, the new one to replace it may not fit right back into that spot. So now you're not only buying a new grill, but you're rebuilding that space every time you want to.
This guy's got a surveillance cam on my house right
now. No, what you're describing right now is my microwave situation. It's one of these custom in cabinet situations with the big stainless steel frame and whatnot. But that microwave is probably 15 years, 20 years old right now. They don't make that thing anymore. They don't make them the same size anymore. They're always changing stuff up. So I'm one of these days. I've already had to fix it once, and I'm like, I'll keep fixing it as long as I can because it's only going to be crazier if I try to replace this thing. You're doing the same thing with grills.
Yep.
Let's be honest too. You get used to your grill.
Yeah.
You know the hot spots.
Mm-hmm.
You know how to cook on it. You know what I mean? Like I can't tell you how many times I've replaced my grill in the last 5 years because the thing just. I'm not good at taking care of things.
Yeah, I was gonna say this tracks. This tracks.
Because you said 3 hours, and I'm sitting here thinking, but that's like when you clean your oven. When you actually do the whole use the oven cleaner thing.
Yeah,
that takes
a while.
At least an hour.
Yep.
So it's kind of interesting. Never thought of it in those terms before. So best way to get a hold of you is the website.
Yeah, absolutely. Go to ncgrillrescue.com. You can read all about the service, information about the products we use. But there's a contact form on there. You just fill it out and give us a little information about what you have. We'll get back in touch with you, give you a price quote, and try to get you on the calendar.
All right. Well, it's August. That means tailgate season is almost here. So please give Eric and his crew, hit them up at ncgrillrescue.com. Now, Joe Ovies is going to be very proud of me. You're going to see a lot of growth here now that we're in we're going into our 6th year together.
Yeah.
All in all.
All in all. Yeah.
I'm just a stupid newspaper guy, but NC Grill Rescue. I'm thinking to myself, how do we make this a bit? Eric, you're a listener of the show. You enjoy our program and we have different segments. So I said, well, we could, we're spitballing this thing around. Well, I was thinking of the life coach. What would he do?
Oh, what would the life coach do? What would the life coach do with rescue? There's a lot to do.
Think about how many times on a Monday or a Tuesday, your favorite team, let's just say NC State on 4th and 1, really could have used the right call from the offensive coordinator, and it didn't happen. So every Tuesday, we will have the ncgrillrescue.com rescue of the week.
It could just be a featured Jordan Hudson tweet as she's defending her man.
I mean, the range is pretty wide.
It's out there. It's out there.
So I'm excited about the rescue of the week. I'm gonna kick it off now.
All right.
And it's not so much as an example of a rescue, but New York Yankees, pretty pleased.
Oh, jeez.
Pretty pleased. I've made this plea on this program before, but go to your dad's grave, please. Just listen for the whispers in the wind. Brian Cashman has been the general manager for 26 years now. Yes, he was theoretically in charge for the core 4 and their 5 titles. Yes, they won it again in 2009. I get all of these things, but pretty please, Steinbrenner family, please clean house. Brian Cash, you need someone else making decisions. He's done really well for 26 years. You need someone else. Aaron Boone in his 8th year. Aaron Boone's a fine manager. We all know these things. It's 8 years. 8 years. Yes, they went to the World Series last year. Forever grateful, as our friends at NC State like to say.
Yeah.
And NC State. The Yankees were in first place almost this whole year until they have been 12-17 since the start of July. Their AL East lead is gone. They are now in danger of missing the playoffs because while they've been terrible in July, the Red Sox, of all teams, have been blazing hot. So
I don't see what the problem is with the Yankees. They actually did something that the Marlins haven't been able to do in several years. Pack out the stadium and then sweep them.
Sold out their building and they got swept. And then did you see what happened yesterday to the Marlins?
Right.
They summarily turned around and lost. And I'm like,
of course.
And then Yankees got walked off yesterday after having a late lead. So sometimes it's time. You need a new voice in the room. You need someone else making decisions. So I'm begging the Steinbrenners for a rescue, not only of the week, but of the year. Pretty please.
Well, Eric, hey man, we love that you're jumping on with NC Grill Rescue. Of course, what we always ask the audience, the listeners, people who engage with us, the best way to support us and what we do is to support those who are financially supporting us as corporate champions. So that's true of all of our corporate champions. So if you've been looking at your grill and this is a lot of like, don't ask kind of situation. Like, I don't want to know how gross all these things are. I just need it clean.
Yeah.
Like you don't need the nitty gritty details. You just want a nice, clean cooking service. You're going to be able to do that.
We'll take care of it.
Excellent. So go to ncgrillrescue.com. Again, that's ncgrillrescue.com. Let us continue on our brief history of Triangle Good. Let's transition to football, shall we? We could probably do, as we approach, maybe we get to it in 2029. I don't know. Maybe the 20th anniversary of the Great Troubles in Chapel Hill.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So,
the junk.
The junk. I mean, for those who might not remember this, that was a good half decade of content. That story did not go away. It popped up. There were multiple investigations. It culminated in a national championship for Carolina in 2017, which we'll get to a little bit later on.
Something good can happen for Carolina.
But understand, this all started over a tweet from Marvin Austin that was on May 29th of, I believe, 2009, if I remember correctly. I live in Club Live, so I get the tenant rate. Bottles coming like it's a giveaway.
Oh, man.
This was a Rick Ross lyric.
Yeah.
But people thought he was being serious because he tweeted it out at 3:07 in the morning. So they thought, oh, man, he must actually be down at the Fontainebleau in South Beach partying up with free bottles. Now, how quaint is it, Joe? How quaint is it that at this time, this was the worst thing that could ever happen in college athletics? A player getting something? It shut the world down.
A player speaking out on Twitter. Why do they have Twitter accounts, Joe? Why are we letting them use social media? These are all actual things that were said.
So I remember around that time, we did a gimmick called Bus Watch because we didn't know who was going to get on the bus for that LSU game.
Yeah.
All right.
God.
And I remember there was a blog post from a guy. I want to say it's Chuck Oliver, who I'll do radio hits from time to time.
Yeah.
The king of college football, my guy down in Atlanta. And he had a blog post saying, hey man, it's all gonna be over this week. Like, it's all good. Everything's gonna be cleared. Ha ha ha. No, it was not cleared after that. It kept going and going and going. This is the first instance of, damn, Giglio, kind of an asshole. We fast forward to 2010. And I need you to give me some more context here. This is a media scrum in September. This was September 16th, 2010. I jotted this down on the notes.
Okay.
September 16th, 2010. We'd already gone through the initial crap, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we get into the agent runners and John Blake, who was on staff, and who's doing what. Do you know who's in here and whatnot? And you're asking Butch Davis about somebody who was an agent runner at the time?
No, this was Chris Hawkins.
Chris Hawkins, thank you.
He's a former player on the team. Chris Hawkins then became like this kind of conduit. He had already, he was on the team, was buddies with Willie Parker.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he had been arrested at this point
this was the peanut butter?
For the peanut butter cocaine run.
Yeah.
Chris Hawkins was now just someone who provided a trip for Kendrick Burney and Deontay Williams.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. It was they were called the Rude Boys, and they went to like California to train. And now Chris was being like, they were like, oh, well, Chris is the one who paid for the trip.
Yes.
And speaking of silliness, like, okay, who cares?
Right.
Like,
think about this. Like, all this stuff right now sounds quaint.
Yeah. But it was this offshoot because you had Marvin and Greg who were involved with Drew Rosenhaus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Drew Rosenhaus was connected with John Blake. And so it was like, oh, Black Santa was paying the players to come to Chapel Hill.
Real quick context there. John Blake had earned the reputation in recruiting circles as Black Santa because he always had the bag.
The bag. You know, he had paid, and Greg Little and Marvin Austin were 5-star recruits, like top shelf players.
Yes.
And then that was the initial. Marvin and Greg was the initial.
Yes.
Then you had Robert Cohen, Coach Robert Cohen,
where the UNC lawyers said, no, hand your phone over to the
my
NCAA.
God. So Robert Quinn got a watch. Robert Quinn got a watch from cousin Yuri down in Miami.
Yep.
And it was a watch.
Yes.
And this is the same guy who made the turnover change for Miami. Gave Robert Quinn a watch. So you had the Robert Quinn's investigation.
Dude, there is an entire
about the watch.
There's an entire retrospective of that time that can be done, and maybe we can work on it next summer, of how ridiculous all of this stuff sounds today.
And those 3 guys were really going to be first round picks. Robert was, but the other 2 guys, they were really, really, really good football players. And so you had, that was one tentacle, as my man Dickie Fedora would like to call them, tentacles.
Yes.
So you had that. Then you had Marvin and Greg were a tentacle.
Yes.
You had John Blake and Gary Wishard. Speaking of RIP, Gary Wishard, his agent was the one. And then you had the defensive backs, Chris Hawkins paying for a trip for Kendrick Burney and Deontay Williams.
And these guys were considered agent
runners. Other than Gary Wishard, they were considered runners who were basically helping the Carolina football players get impermissible benefits.
And this leads to
now wait a second.
All the heat is in Chapel Hill trying to get to the bottom of this, because remember, the worst thing that ever could happen in college sports is the players getting something.
Yes.
And you're doing your job.
Okay, so
this takes us to September 16th. 2010.
So there's a frustration level here of me having to deal with all of this.
Yeah.
And at the time, the only person over there who was talking to me was Dick Fedora. Okay. So I had no communication from the football staff at all. And I had a decent relationship with Butch.
Sure.
No communication whatsoever. And
I forgot, and there's Jennifer Wiley and parking tickets.
I had Jennifer Wiley and Greg Little parking tickets. I had to go to Jennifer Wiley's apartment and wait for her. Oh my God. I don't know how I didn't get arrested during all of
here
this.
we are in a scrum.
So there's just a lot of there's a lot of frustration.
Yes.
And at that time, I had also been told that Chris Hawkins is the same guy who got into a fight when he was on the team. He got into a fight in the weight room where he took a trophy and smashed it over somebody's head.
I forgot about that context.
When he was playing for John Bunting.
Yes.
So it was kind of known that Chris was a little bit of a loose cannon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is he in the facility?
So here we go.
Coach, what is your understanding of Chris Hawkins' relationship with your current?
First and foremost,
I know it's
had your balls
not
dropped.
Not a lot of base.
How skinny were you with that? That you were skinny. That was Skinny Joe.
No, I was never skinny.
Okay.
Coach, what is your understanding of Chris Hawkins' relationship with your current players?
Yeah, I don't have any understanding, Joe.
A guy with an outstanding felony arrest, though, should he be hanging around the players? Should he be having a relationship with current
all
players?
of that stuff, Joe, has got, that's all about the review. And I haven't been privileged to any of the stuff that's come back. And so, all I'm doing is spending as much time as I can on our football team and Georgia Tech.
So you haven't seen him like in the weight room or with Kendrick or Deontay? But he's part of the review. But he is part of the review.
I can't answer that, Joe. That's one of the things. If you'd like, certainly, I think Mr. Fedora he'd be more than willing to sit down and talk to you about anything that's going on with the review.
If your concern is runners, and he has been defined as a runner, as an agent by the NCAA, how prudent is it to have him in your facility and having relationships with players that are pertinent to your team?
Yeah, you know what, Joe? He's not in our facility.
He's never been in your facility?
He is not in our facility.
You're saying he's never been in your facility?
He's not in our facility.
Well, he's not there
Joe.
right now. I mean, Sam, I am, but has he ever been in the weight room?
Joe,
has he ever been hanging around the team?
Joe, you just said, is he in our facility, and is it prudent to have him around? He is no longer in our facility, and he is not in our facility at this time.
Has Greg Ellaby moved back to the defensive line?
He has.
I believe that's Greg Barnes. I believe that's inside Carolina's Greg Barnes. After that exchange, go, hey, yo, so Greg Ellaby. Why did you say Sam I am?
Because he kept repeating, he's not there. He's not there.
He's not there. Green eggs and
He's
ham?
not there. He's not there. Right. Sam I am. He's not there right now. God, I busted out the thesaurus on him, didn't I?
You did. You did.
Yeah, I'm an asshole. It's fine.
When was the last time you heard that, by the way?
That's been what year was it? 10?
2010. That's 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
That's hilarious. So,
and when he goes, Mr. Fedora would be happy to. I literally left that practice. I called Dickie.
Hey,
like, hey, just so you know.
So this culminates eventually into Butch Davis getting fired.
So yeah, so this I was wrong. This had come out after Chris had been arrested for the cocaine peanut butter.
So that's 2010. He eventually goes through the 2011 season, but things had continued to bubble up. More stuff started to come out, more scrutiny. If I remember correctly, the final straw was when, for Holden Thorpe, the chancellor at the time, the final straw after all the academic stuff was spilling over and all the agent runner stuff was spilling over.
Butch didn't coach the 11 season. 10 was his last year.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, they beat Tennessee in that crazy game, and he was about to go into the 11 season as the coach. But
that's what I'm getting. Okay, he was about to, but then, if I remember correctly, he was going to give his kid a scholarship.
Yes. He wanted to put his son, Drew, on scholarship.
And Holden Thorpe said, the fuck you are.
All this money you cost me, and now you want to give your kid a free ride.
The reason why I say 2011 is because he eventually, as more and more comes out in the NCAA, and there's reports, I think the Martin report came out that time, he fires up YouTube.
Yes.
He puts on a bunch of makeup. Reasons I don't know. The lighting was terrible. And he drops this banger.
Let's talk for a bit about John Blake. Did I know he had such a close relationship with a sports agent? No. Should I have known? I wish I had known. As the head coach, you want to know every single thing. You like to think that you know the important things, but logically you know that you simply can't know everything.
Should I have known? I wish I had. Do you understand how that quote lived rent-free for people that year? Should I have known? I wish I had.
He was the only one who didn't know.
It's funny how that works out, right?
Poor John Blake.
So you're right. Before that season, he gets let go. Everett Withers is the coach in 2011 as the interim coach. He was the defensive coordinator. He goes up to be the interim coach. And again, nothing happens in a vacuum. Everything's tied together. Tom O'Brien's over at NC State, right?
Yeah. Let me give you one quick quote from Dick, because I don't think
now that you're thinking about it?
I don't think I've ever shared this one.
Okay.
So Butch and I have this exchange where he was like, "Oh, I'm sure Mr. Fedora would."
Yeah.
So I called Dick and I said, "Hey, I just want you to let you know, I just got into it with your football
Butch,
coach." He's like, "Okay." He's like, "Well, what happened?" And I go, "Well, I was asking him about Chris Hawkins." And you got to remember, like, Dick's family is like in law.
They're all lawyers, right?
So he's like, he gives me this big deep sigh. He goes, now keep in mind, I want you to keep something in mind in 2011.
Yeah.
We on the outside didn't really know about Julian Narangaro and Debbie Crowder.
No.
And the academic portion of this and everything else.
No.
So we didn't know that.
No.
So this is minutes after this exchange when I talked to Dick Fedora, and he goes, deep sigh on the phone. And he's like, "Okay, well, I'm sure I'll hear about it, what had happened." And he goes, "But I got to tell you, Joe," he goes, "Chris Hawkins, he's the least of my problems."
So,
and in that time, I had not a single clue.
Then we come to find out
what he was talking about.
This gets us to Tom O'Brien, where again, this is a classic case of throughout the years when it comes to football, it don't matter what's happening in Raleigh. The focus is always on the sleeping giant that is Chapel Hill, that is North Carolina. All they got to do is get the right coach. All they got to do is throw the right money behind it. And all this stuff is happening. And Everett Withers had done a radio interview with me and me only. For some reason, I was, that's when Adam Gold and I were doing radio. And Kevin Best, who was he was the SID.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a fancier term to Kevin that at the time, but whatever. And I remember that day, Kevin going, "It's just you?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay." Withers comes on. Withers out of nowhere starts talking about, hey, what does this rivalry mean for you, et cetera, et cetera. And he's just talking, well, we're the flagship. You come here and get a great education. You just laid out why that line would infuriate somebody like Tom O'Brien. Hold up. After everything we've come to find out post your conversation with Dick Fedora,
you
got the audacity to say that we're the flagship? that UNC is the flagship and academics and all that stuff.
Yeah, speak about attention between Carolina and State forever with Dean Smith.
Yes.
This goes back to basketball.
All this bubbled over.
The Carolina way. We do things the right way. Jim Valvano was dirty. Jim Valvano was a cheater. Jim Valvano signed Chris Washburn and Charles Shackelford. We would never mind that they also recruited both of those in-state players. Like, no, we would never. That's not the Carolina way. So this scandal exposed kind of the fraudulence. Well, yes, you might have had great intentions, John Swafford, Dean Smith, Mack Brown. You might have had great intentions.
But you're just like everybody else.
With an AFAM major to help the players who have them interest in something other than whitewashed history, right? Like that was unintended consequences because the department itself became corrupt.
It did. And it just basically laid bare that Carolina is just like any other major program.
Your idea of the Carolina way,
the bell,
Luke May showing up at the business class the day after hitting the big shot. Like, okay.
So O'Brien, of course, bubbles over. He hears this interview. He gets mad. My understanding is that Mark Thomas, who I was doing radio with at the time, Mark Thomas, former NC State player, was at this practice. And Tom had told Mark, this is my understanding.
Okay.
This is my understanding. Tom had told Mark, hey, ask me about that. And Tom was ready to go.
Here is a guy that's on a football staff that ends up in Indianapolis, that if you take three things that you can't do in college football, you have an agent on your staff, you're paying your players, and you have academic fraud. I mean, that's a triple play as far as the NCAA goes. So I don't know what he has anything to talk about or they have anything to talk about. If that's what the people want in their flagship university in North Carolina, then so be it.
Triple play. That was a banger from Tom O'Brien.
Sniff twice, like him to compose himself.
The giveaway. The sniff was always the giveaway for Tom O'Brien, that he was about to deliver some heat. Okay.
I somehow missed this. This was a Thursday availability. I think basketball had something that day.
Yes.
And I was not there for this in State. Tom would literally play the entirety of your interview with Everett Withers in the locker room before this game. Mike Archer has confirmed that.
So I've heard, yes.
Yeah. And they shut him out. They beat him 13-0.
It's funny.
Poor Bryn Renner.
I know. Shout out to Bryn.
Nate. Was it Nate in that team? No, it was Terrell Manning and the crew.
So what's funny is that ultimately Tom O'Brien came and did what was supposed to be done for NC State at that time. Coming out of the Chuck Amato era, bringing a little bit of discipline and whatnot. Actual discipline, not a slogan on a wall that said discipline. And they were never disciplined under Chuck Amato. And he goes out and he shuts out North Carolina, all that kind of stuff. But that's not why we remember Tom O'Brien. It's not the banger like triple play. We only remember Tom O'Brien because of Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson from a whole pack of badgers. Russell Wilson from a whole pack of badgers. Russell Wilson from a whole pack of badgers.
Now, we just played that clip from Tom O'Brien. Did Tom O'Brien have a Southern twang at any point in that clip? Did Tom O'Brien ever have a Southern twang?
Mike Patrick and Russell Wilson, you are hitting me in some spots here.
So Russell Wilson, 2016, it's Wisconsin's commencement speech. And the legend of Russell Wilson at that point had already been, he won.
Yeah.
Okay, he won.
Yep.
But Russell's never been able to just rest on the fact that he won the lore battle. He had to keep embellishing, keep adding ingredients. He's like George Lucas with a Star Wars movie. No. I gotta add another dancing CGI character to this scene. How else can I make this story sound better? I know what I'll do. I'll make up some shit about my baseball career. You doing that to Elliot Avent? The guy, your guy? You're gonna make up a story about your baseball? Oh, okay. And then you're gonna kind of like massage how you found out you weren't doing XYZ as a quarterback. And then on top of that, you add a Southern twang to Tom O'Brien?
The summer before my senior year of college, I'm playing minor league baseball. I called my football coach at NC State and say, hey, coach, I'd like to come back for my senior year. And he told me I wasn't coming back. He said, listen, son, you're never going to play in the National Football League. You're too small. There's no chance. Got no shot. Give it up. Of course, I'm on this side of the phone saying, so you're telling me I'm not going to come back to NC State? I won't see the field? He said, no, son, you won't see the field.
No, son. You thought Brian Kelly was laying it on thick with my family. Russell Wilson was out here doing that. And this illustrates once again why State fans are the way that they are about certain stuff. We started out of the gate with the Mike Patrick clip. That's not what happened, but he's telling a national audience who wasn't here for it, oh, that must be what happened. State fans are fucking crazy. And now you have Russell Wilson, who is telling his story to the point where, I'll repeat this story again. I went to a National Sports Media Association banquet. Peter King sat down with me and Adam Gold, and he interviewed us about what happened between Tom O'Brien and Russell Wilson. We explained to him the full extent of the story. Did that stop Peter King from telling Russell Wilson's story to keep in good graces? So you want to know why people act a certain way about certain things? Is because the story is never told the way it actually happened for reasons I don't know.
Yeah.
But Russell Wilson obviously did not help. And that was a crucial piece to the Tom O'Brien tenure. Despite the fact he had success against UNC,
Sure.
that Russell Wilson thing still sticks with him.
Yeah, winners write history. And I think if he had just stuck to the facts of Tom did tell him, you're not coming back, man. Michael's going to be the starter.
Mm-hmm.
That did happen. That part of it did happen. But that year, Tom actually tried, Tom and Dana Bible, by the way, Dana, who still works with Russell Wilson, or at least had to up until last summer. Dana Bible was the OC. They tried to get Russell invited to the NFL Combine that year, 2010.
Yeah.
They tried.
It didn't happen.
The NFL did not want him.
Yeah.
They tried to get him an invite. Okay.
So
Tom O'Brien and Bill Belichick at the time were actually like pretty cordial.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not like Tom didn't have any connections at all in the NFL. Could not get him an invite to the Combine.
Yeah.
And, as we've illustrated before, the decision was made even before then because of Russell's inability to just say, I want to play football. And here's the crazy thing about the football portion of this.
Mm-hmm.
After that summer, Russell Wilson never played competitive baseball again.
Well, because baseball told him he was not playing
which was the
competitive baseball
only
again.
thing that Tom O'Brien ever wanted from him was to commit, and he never could because he had a dream that he wanted to fulfill for his late father. And I don't begrudge him
No,
the pursuit of that dream. I don't begrudge him the money that he made from the Rockies that he needed at the time. I don't begrudge him that. The thing that really bothered me and inspired our Russell Wilson podcast project, other than trying to provide some clarity and sanity for NC State fans, he retold a story about Elliott Avent in a way that was so egregiously wrong.
Yes.
And painted Elliott in a way that he did not have the right to paint Elliott. I can say this with a certain conviction.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson would either be selling used cars in Richmond right now, or he would be coaching high school football in Richmond right now if it wasn't for Elliott Avent. That's a fact. That's a fact.
And he embellished a baseball story.
And he did not have to make up he didn't have to completely fabricate a story about Elliott Avent and how he was treated when he was playing baseball at NC State.
Found an old tweet of yours. May 15th, 2016. Just got a text from Tom O'Brien with his response to Russell Wilson's speech. Quote, good for him.
Yeah. Tom was not going to get into a back and forth with Russ. He was just not. And I just said, like, he's telling stories, he's giving you this accent. He's like, whatever. Good for him. Let him tell his story.
Sticking with football, Duke football been running pretty hot.
Okay.
Lately. And Manny Diaz coming off a 9-win season last year. Mike Elko was excellent for 2 years before taking the Texas A&M job.
Yeah.
And quickly revived what David Cutcliffe had kind of lost steam on with Duke football. But David Cutcliffe took over a program that was at the bottom. So much so that Duke's lawyers in 2008 argued to get out of a lawsuit with Louisville. Louisville was not part of the ACC at this time.
Right.
This was a non-conference game that had been scheduled. Duke lawyers argued to get out of this scheduled game and not pay an exit penalty for it. I think it was to the tune of like $500,000, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, $450,000.
The lawyers said, and here's a summation of it from the NC Business Litigator Report.com, who actually covered the story like nobody's business back in 2008. The court can take judicial notice that Duke is, quote, probably the worst football team in Division I football. Playing Duke is an automatic win. Duke's lawyer. So the bottom line is, how much discovery, if any, should anyone have to take, want to take, or need to take to make the simple analysis of whether or not that was a team of similar stature. The arguments being that Louisville, you don't play us, not a problem. You will find a comparable team to us because we're the worst.
We're literally.
And the kicker, no one in their right mind would televise a Duke football game in 2008. That's how bad things were.
Yeah,
for
Duke from 00 to 07 had a 13-90 record.
So here comes David Cutcliffe. Cutcliffe tells the definitive Duke football story ahead of the Belk Bowl. I believe this was 2012.
When we took this job, I was so proud, and we were out recruiting, out there hunting all you guys. Here you all are. I wanted Duke football. You asked Pickle on everything. Didn't want just Duke. Duke football, Duke football. Every airport I was in, somebody was going to come by with a joke. Oh, y'all got a football team? Y'all really play football at Duke? I heard it, and I heard it, and I heard it. All it did was fuel the fire. Fuel the fire. Wanted to find you, and you, and you, and you. You've got a statement to make. Well, we chose you for a reason. Let the reason be seen. Lead the way, seniors. Duke football? Hell yes, it's Duke football. Let's go.
Hell yes, it's Duke football. Who's going to take that seriously? Actually, people took it pretty seriously because Duke football, I mean, they won the Coastal, right? Should have beaten Johnny Manziel in Texas A&M in a bowl game, right? But Cutcliffe brought them back to respectability. And to illustrate the point, once again, nothing happens in a vacuum. David Cutcliffe is there, and there's a financial commitment to Duke football because of what had happened at Wake Forest under Jim Grobe.
Yes.
And of course, what has happened with Duke football and Mike Elko leads to looking at Carolina and say, whoa, hold up.
Whoa, Duke had $10 million in an NIL payroll.
Hold up.
What?
We got it. But none of this happens without that initial reboot for Duke football when everybody got together and said, no, we can't play this game anymore. And now go look at Wallace Wade today. Go look at how their payroll is being run. And all that goes back to the reboot with David Cutcliffe, which is pretty impressive. I think people remember how it ended for David Cutcliffe. It ran out of steam. It was a program that was just kind of broken at that time. Everybody just was kind of like run down. But I think as time moves on, I think people will have a better appreciation for what Cutcliffe was able to do at Duke football and kind of set the foundation for what you see today at Duke, which is pretty impressive, all things considered. Man, he's got his job cut out for him this year with a tougher schedule. But hey, man, who would have thought? Who would have thought back in 2008 that Duke football is out here getting one of the top transfers in the QB market with Darian Menza, right? So all that happens back then. And again, all part of the 25 years of triangle good. Let's move on, shall we? Big thanks to our friends at Miller Lending. Check them out online at millerlending.com/theog, or you can just call them directly at 919-447-3377. Contact Gordon, the crew, for any number of financial needs as it relates to utilizing your house and the equity you have in your house to lower your interest rate on debt. Consolidate that, like get out of that credit card high interest rate situation, consolidate it with your equity, and you'll be saving money in the long run. You're thinking about buying a house, but the interest rates are a little high. You're going to wait. Well, the minute the interest rates come back down, there's going to be a frenzy on buying a house. So when you don't pay closing costs and you can refinance in 6 months to take advantage of the new lower rate, well, you're already a step ahead of the game. So you do that right now by visiting our friends at millerlending.com/theog. You will be able to get a Raleigh Wine Shop gift basket as part of closing and a Roback, Joe.
Yeah. Promise is still there. Give them a call, 919-447-3377.
Speaking of Roback, check them out online, roback.com. Use the promo code OG20. They got a couple new shirts. They got a new Charlotte shirt. They got a new NC State shirt that just dropped ahead of the football season.
Yeah, I got
a lot of Carolina stuff too. So go to roback.com. Check all that stuff out. If you have not used your promo code yet, use it today. OG20.
Ooh, they got a new NC State game day shirt. Wow, that is really cool.
Nice, right?
Carter Finley. They have a Carter Finley specific polo as well.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the red hoodie is back with Tuffy in the center of this NC State game day shirt. Holy smokes.
Pretty good, right?
I had not seen this.
There it is. If you're watching on YouTube. It's got the little outline of the state, got little pennants, right?
Wow.
It's good stuff.
That's cool.
So go to rowback.com, RHOBACK.com, and use that promo code OG20. Especially this time of the year, it's kind of gross outside. Those moisture wicking shirts keep you cool and comfortable. Maybe you're going to be hanging outside and you don't want to be bitten up by mosquitoes while you're hanging out in your rowback, being all comfortable. Well, this is where you go to bugsbite.com. Use our friends Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. Roaches, spiders, all that kind of stuff, all those critters, they can handle that with Pest Authority. But this time of the year, with the humidity, the rain, the up and down temperatures, mosquitoes can be pretty active. So contact bugsbite.com and bundle and save between Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. And speaking of your home and saving money, Matt Davis, State Farm. Check him out online at insuregarner.com or call him directly at 919-779-8277. You will be able to save. Just have the conversation. Maybe you think you've got the lowest rate possible. You don't know that unless you start that conversation with our friends Matt Davis and the crew over at insuregarner.com or call them directly at 919-779-8277. Just start the conversation and see where it goes. The journey continues. Let's fast forward to 2017. Smith Center. Michael Jordan in the house. But not there for basketball.
No, this was to launch the Jordan brand as a football, as the primary sponsor for football. They did it at Florida, Oklahoma, and of course, his alma mater.
Larry Fedora, head coach at the Times, there looking good in his polo because he's been working out. Probably did a couple push-ups before he went out to midcourt with Michael Jordan. But nobody remembers why Michael Jordan was there that day. They only remember this.
So with that note, I want to welcome Coach for all the hard work and the dedication he's done for the football team and a lot of the players here tonight. I wish you guys nothing but best. The ceiling is the roof. Let's make it happen. Let's keep moving forward.
The ceiling is the roof. Now, you could sit there and make fun of it, or you can make a shirt. And you can go on and win a national championship within a month. And then you have a shirt that says ceiling roof banner. What a mantra in 2017.
So Michael might have had a few pops that night.
Maybe. But that was an all-timer. Yeah. And that was also a little bit of redemption for everybody. Because remember, just the year before, Jordan got crying Jordaned. You have to understand.
Was at the game and Roy had him go talk to the players after they had lost.
You got to understand the stranglehold that crying Jordan meme had on people 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Stranglehold.
Yeah.
That essentially was comedy in 2015 and 2016. And it ended that night when UNC lost to Villanova and Jordan got Jordaned. But redemption, baby. Not just for that basketball team, but for Jordan himself to come out there and drop that line, which became iconic at the time, shirts and everything. But I mentioned Larry Fedora.
Oh, boy.
Man.
We are about to save America, aren't we?
Man, did Larry Fedora have his moments as the head coach at North Carolina, coming out of the aftermath of the Butch Davis era and having to deal with some of the, recruiting restrictions and understanding where things were. But Larry, Chuck Amato walked so Larry Fedora could run. For instance, 2014. Who's your quarterback going to be? You got Mitch Trubisky. You got Marquise Williams. Who's going to be Larry?
I'll try out to be under center on Saturday.
Hello, who you want to go?
Come on.
You?
Yeah, sure.
All right. We haven't made that decision yet. Somebody's going to go out there. It'll probably be a quarterback, though.
Have you said why you won't make that decision publicly?
Because it bothers a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that'd probably be the number one reason, is that everybody wants to ask about it, and so it just gives me pleasure. And just gives me pleasure.
It just gives me pleasure. That Larry lived in his own planet, man.
We might need to add, it just gives me pleasure to the
to the board. Put it right next to.
I think my juices flow all the time.
Oh, something tells me.
That's coming up. That's coming up. So Larry Fedora
just gives me pleasure.
He lived in his own reality. He really did. I mean, right down to his final game where they lose to NC State and there was a fight in the corner of the end zone. And he said, I just saw two teams celebrating, right? But where it truly showed you leading up to his final year was at ACC Kickoff 2018. Context is important. We are in the midst of having a better understanding of CTE, traumatic brain injuries. Kevin Guskowitz.
I was going to say, not only like the royal we, but the University of North Carolina was on the forefront of concussion research,
working with the
Kevin
NFL.
Guskowitz.
With Kevin Guskowitz, who would go on to be the chancellor, who ended up leaving for Michigan State, right? That's its own story. So Larry, I am convinced to this day that Larry wanted out. He was done. I think in his mind, he was going to be at Carolina for a hot minute, turn that thing around, and then leave for Texas, for a Texas job.
Yes.
Right?
Baylor, Texas A&M,
doesn't matter.
one of them.
I'm getting back to Texas to do my thing. So I'm convinced to this day that Larry was setting the table to get his ass fired. And the best way to do that is to go unhinged at ACC Kickoff. And this exchange with our old colleague, Mark Armstrong, I had forgotten how, look, more context here. He did this in like a little breakout session. It gets out on social media because like Nicole Auerbach tweets it out. Matt Fortuna tweets it out.
Yeah.
Carolina's like, whoa. So they bring him back out to talk some more. And Larry doubled down. And we get this exchange.
Who do you think is, to use your word, attacking the game?
Well,
blaming us?
No, I'm not blaming you. I'm not blaming anybody. I blame a groundswell of data that is tweaked one way or the other, because I can take the data and I can make it look one way. You can take the data and make it look another way. And whoever's presenting it is the one that gets to say so. And, are there some things that are negative about the game? Yeah, there's no doubt about that. But again, I think as you look over time, I can tell you just in my lifetime, from when I played the game early on to where we are today, here's a huge difference in the way the game is played and the way athletes are taken care of.
You said the game's under attack. Is there anything you fear might happen?
Oh yes, I fear that the game will get pushed so far to one extreme that you won't recognize the game 10 years from now. That's what I worry about. And I do believe that if it gets to that point, that our country goes down too.
Our country goes down to, you heard the Mark Armstrong chuckle there at the end. And I had a conversation with a general, like, why is America so great? He says, we're the only country that plays football. This was some unhinged shit in July of 2018.
Yeah, now this is a different year from when he had his exchange, his misogynist exchange with Brooke Pryor.
That was a different time. Okay. Yes, that was a different time. Although we might have to verify with Brooke. It might be this. A lot of times where I think things happen in separate years, they actually happen in the same year.
Okay.
So
yeah, Brooke would have been like covering the Chiefs by 2018.
Yeah, I think she was gone at that point. But I mentioned it earlier. Larry Fedora but before Larry, you had Chuck Amato.
I was going to say, we're not going to be able to do this justice. We do not have
there's no way.
The clips from Chuck.
The thing about Chuck Amato is that you've heard the Happy Thanksgiving. Giglio does his impersonations. What do you call you, Mr. Intimidation?
Yes.
Oh, how do you do it?
Looks like Mr. Intimidation. Put some weight on.
I think at one point, if Luke DeCock were here, columnist, News and Observer, at some point he'll just go, I don't know.
Chuck was a character.
Absolute character.
Yeah.
But here's what I wanted to focus on. Because we brought out the Chuck Amato bits in the past.
Yeah.
What I didn't realize was how everything had turned on Chuck that quickly. Okay. Because remember, for a while there, Chuck was the show.
Yeah.
He had his own restaurant. Chuck'em's. He had his face on the Chuck It recycling program. I mean, that dude was the face of NC State athletics for a hot minute. He was serenading recruits. He was showing up in red snakeskin boots. I think he showed up in a Harley once, if I remember correctly.
Definitely had the Trans Am or Corvette.
But then things got away from him real quick. And it all leads to your former colleague, Gray Blackwell, at the News and Observer. This is another one of those you had to be there situations. There's a signing day press conference Chuck had already been dealing with critics, which I think dealt with another quote of his, "What critics?" Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Was on the field with Dr. Jerry Punch.
What critics?
What critics?
All right. At this signing day, he addressed some of the criticism that he was getting, but then he said, "I am the man." He was confident. "I am the man." So this leads to a music parody done by the News and Observer. This was commissioned by the News and Observer. You wonder why state fans are the way that they are. And it's this animation with Lee Fowler, the AD at the time. They had just hired Sidney Lowe. Chuck's dealing with it. You know, they're pointing out like how he's on the hot seat and all this other kind of stuff. And then it starts with Lee Fowler saying, "Didn't you say you were the man?"
Remember last year when you told that reporter, "I am the man"? Yeah. Well, are you, Chuck? Are you still the man? The man? The man? The man? The man?
You know it's hard out here for a coach.
I am the man.
When he's getting all his money from his clothes.
I am the man.
With his Corvette house money spent.
I am the man.
And his coaches and his players jumping ship.
I am the man. On my eyes, I used to wear some crazy shades on the field. Made the coaches wear crazy red shoes just for me. But I gotta get my game right. Can't lose no more on game day. Fans booed me off the Jumbotron last year. I know that ain't right. I've seen my coaches leave. I've seen my players go. Why is it I can't win more games when half my team goes pro? Rivers made me look like a top 10 coach. But now that he's gone, gotta win games on my own. When it comes to big games, I always win one or two. Good thing I kept my playbook from FSU.
You know it's hard out here for a coach.
I am the man.
Can you imagine that being done today? How schools and fans would react to that.
You know who the voice is, right?
No, I don't actually. I still to this day I do not know who the voice is. Who was Chuck Amato's voice for that?
He did a morning show with Madison.
That was Bob?
It was Bob.
That was Bob Dumas?
Yep.
I did not know that. I did not know that. That is amazing. Now, Gray would do one.
Gray, I think, did like 3 of those.
He did the original was Chuck Dynamite. He did one for John Bunting, Miami twice to Miami Vice. From Miami Vice.
Welcome to Miami.
Miami. There was Coach Commercial for Coach K because there was an NCAA tournament run where Mike Krzyzewski was on every freaking commercial, right?
Yep.
But It's Hard Out Here for a Coach, which was a play on
a pimp.
Hard Out Here for a Pimp, and he's all dressed like a pimp. To this day, I every so often will just have that go through my head. I am a man. Now, I mentioned John Bunting. The problem with John Bunting is there's not a lot of audio of John Bunting that exists. Bunting, I'll say this about Bunting, and I think his crucial part of the last 25 years of Triangle Good is that Bunting, in my mind, is the one and only coach in the last 25 years who truly understood what it was to beat NC State.
Yeah, I think he got the triangle dynamics better than anybody else.
He got the triangle dynamics better than anybody else.
Although that's not fair to Mac. Mac 1.0.
This is why I said the last 25 years.
Okay.
The last 25 years.
Okay.
Mac 1.0 understood the dynamics.
Yeah.
Winning the state, all that kind of stuff, right?
Prioritized it, yes.
But Bunting came in at a time where the alumni coach coming back to save the day was like the hot shit. Remember, Chuck Amato was the same thing, right? And it doesn't exist, but I was at that press conference where he would say, "Oh yeah, when we get ready for the state game, we would chant, beat Cal College." Trust me, I looked for every thumb drive that I have in my possession that where a lot of this audio came from. I do not have that audio, but I was there for it, so I know it happened. And if you don't believe this man loved UNC, shout out to the old Isaac Azumba.
I sing a Zumba, Zumba, Zumba. I sing a Zumba, Zumba day. I sing a Zumba, Zumba, Zumba. I sing a Zumba, Zumba day. Roll 'em down, you Victoria Warriors. Roll 'em down, fight for the cap. Roll 'em down.
Can you imagine Bill Belichick doing that?
Or having any clue?
Right. Isaac Azumba. What does that even mean? But that man got it.
Bled it.
And he also knew how to get to Chuck.
Yes.
And again, things get memory hold and it's tough to find it, but this happened at Carter Finley Stadium. And Bunting just happened to be out there during warm-ups. And Chuck got mad because they weren't supposed to be there in front of the tunnel. And John just stood there while a diminutive Chuck Amato was all up in his chest. And John's just sitting there, arms crossed like, cool. So I get that things kind of fell off with Bunting. Discipline wasn't exactly a forte of John Bunting. All those things. You had the urban legend of Don Bunting going around, his wife going around with like the smoke sticks to ward off evil spirits before we did it, right?
They were just kind of incompetent offensively.
Right.
They never really had a quarterback.
Andrew Carter caught up with Andrew Carter, formerly of the News and Observer, caught up with Bunting back in 2016, and he laid it out just like that. He's like, we never had a quarterback. We could just never get the quarterback position right. I mean, Amato understood this post Philip Rivers. You could never get the quarterback right. But Bunting's one of those if you have any sort of takeaway about John Bunting is what I said at the beginning. He was a guy who seemed to understand the triangle dynamics better than any other UNC coach in the last 25 years. I know Belichick doesn't get that. Mack 2.0 didn't necessarily get that. Larry didn't. Butch certainly didn't. But John did. John did. Always will. I mean, look, man, he's out here doing Isaac Zumba for heaven's sake. And that's an old-timey Carolina thing. I mean, I don't even know. Do the kids today even know about that on campus?
I'm
it's
not there.
It's on the website.
I'm not there.
It's all part of the website at UNC. So just a thought. Big thanks to Bloomin' Blinds. They are back for college football. They are back for After Darks. Very excited about this.
Yes.
And you should contact them by calling them directly at 919-980-9815.
We're going double dark that first weekend, right?
Yeah, we got the ECU State game, and then we got the UNC TCU game.
Okay.
So we are absolutely double darking. And Bloomin' Blinds is going to be with us all throughout the football season. So support them the way that's supporting us. 10 or more window treatments, you get 10% off. Even something as simple as window shade blind repair, they can do that for you. And it's going to be a lot easier and more cost effective for them to do it than for you to do it and get mad and frustrated. So contact them today.
Promise you that.
Speaking of your home, you might buy a house and you got to redo all the blinds and the shades. Hey, Bloomin' Blinds can help you out with that. And speaking of your house, to buy one, sell one. Our friends at Hometown Realty are going to help you out. myhtr.com. Again, that's myhtr.com. You can buy and sell with confidence. And of course, you got to take that thing to close, or maybe you got another speeding ticket. You contact our friends at Whitaker and Hamer. They're going to help you out, or at least network you with somebody that can help you out. It is a one-stop shop. Small business, personal legal needs, they've got you. Go to Whitaker and Hamer, wh.lawyer. And of course, our friends at Two Roosters. Our flavor is no longer there, but that doesn't mean that Jared and the crew aren't pumping out fantastic, delicious flavors every month. They followed it up with peanut butter cookie, by the way.
I know. I retrieved the sign yesterday. It was kind of sad. Shouts to Chip Patterson and his boys. They were there.
Nice.
When I went and got the sign, it was like
nice. So go to tworoosters.com. You can see what their rotating flavors are right now. I told y'all to buckle in because today's episode is a doozy.
Bankroll, not a
yeah,
that's one of my favorites.
Speaking of Carolina and Duke, shall we go back to 2007, Joe?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go ahead and go back to 2007, shall we?
May have been the elbow of Henderson.
It was, and you know what? It was not a nasty. I mean, obviously the contact was strong, but Henderson was not looking for a cheap shot there. Roy and Mike talking it over.
You got the coaches huddling. You got the officials huddling. Now you've got Hansbrough, who's already exited the floor.
Hey, here's another thing, and I don't think it was a dirty shot at all by Henderson. It's just one of those deals. You're going after the ball. Here's something you could say. 14.5 seconds to go. North Carolina 12 up. What's Hansbrough on the floor? Yep. But the fans are booing something that was not an intentional foul at all.
So that was Billy Packer and Jim Nance.
I don't think Billy had that one right.
Well,
be perfectly honest.
What's funny is I had forgotten that Billy Packer, after he had gone through I don't think it was intentional. I don't think, He then floated why was Tyler Hansbrough even in there?
Sure.
Right? And this
that's more of a salient point than Gerald Henderson. Just in that picture you showed, you see his hand clenched. Like, that's not I'm just trying to send you to the foul line. That is you're trying to embarrass me. Fuck that. Because it was square across the nose.
So the reason why I bring this up and this gets back
This
to
is 07.
This
by
is
the way.
07. And the reason why I bring this up and why this is crucial is because there's a little bit of a Mandela effect that occurred after this. And there's also yet more illustrations of why Duke fans absolutely rail against the portrayal of Duke, right? Especially with the Mandela effect that occurs. So after the game, everybody's figuring all this kind of stuff out, right? After the game, Mike Krzyzewski says, and I quote, this is from the official Duke block quotes from that game. Mike Krzyzewski, I don't know why they do that. This was about suspending Henderson for the next game with an automatic ejection on that. Whatever happens, happens. Somebody should look at it. If they see it different, then we accept it. I know there was not the intent to do that, and the game was over before that. I mean, the outcome of the game, let's put it that way. That's unfortunate, too, that those people were in the game in that play. Coming out of this, as we get further away, that if you said, well, Gerald Henderson,
which by the way is rich from Mike Krzyzewski, who lived to beat teams by 40 points.
We'll get to
absolutely lived for it.
We'll get to the one weakness of Mike Krzyzewski that kind of lingers in all the conversations and sets up why people have so many problems with Mike Krzyzewski. That goes beyond just beating your favorite team by 40 points.
Right.
Or when Bomani Jones did the times in which Duke beat your favorite black teams.
Yeah.
Predominantly black teams.
Yeah.
Okay. So what came out of that is if I were to say to a person of a certain age, Gerald Henderson is the real victim here, people will go, man, I can't believe Mike Krzyzewski said that. Except that he didn't. It was inferred. The first time was when he laid out what Billy Packer said straight up. Why the fuck is Tyler Hansbrough out there?
Yeah.
If they're playing, we're going to play, even if the game was over at that point.
Right.
So there's that. Roy Williams pushed back on that when it was like brought up, hey, man, well, why was Tyler out there? Roy has a whole quote about, well, I mean, I would have taken him out of the game if XYZ had happened. He was just kind of like needling them some more, like, hey, you know, you effed up. That's why he was still in the game. All right. So shout out to my guy, James Gilbert on Blue Sky. Because I asked, like, is this a Mandela effect? Like, I cannot find Gerald Henderson is the real victim here in the aftermath of the bloody Hansbrough incident. So James pulls up this old Salisbury Post Brett Strelo notes column.
Okay.
Ahead of the ACC tournament in Tampa.
This would be down in Tampa. Yeah.
Ahead of Tampa. And it was about Tyler Hansbrough having a mask and how it's bothersome at this point.
And
so
Henderson did not play in the game, and Duke lost.
So Streezy gets this quote from the availability leading into the ACC tournament. If you're watching on YouTube, I got it pulled up. The person it's most unfortunate for is G, referring to Gerald Henderson, because that wasn't his intent and that's not what he was doing during that play. I believe that with all my heart and head and whatever. These kids don't have long careers, and you never want an incident to soil or taint somebody's reputation. In this case, he's an amazing kid. Roy Williams did Roy have something else here in no, that was something else. I thought I had a quote there from Roy Williams, but that's neither here nor there. That's where the genesis of Gerald Henderson is the real victim. They looked at that quote. I'm convinced it was that quote. And then it was inferred that he was like, oh no, Gerald's the victim here. And this is important. Because look, man, Bobby Frazier knew it in the moment that sequence was going to live on in the rivalry forever.
Yeah.
You cannot go through a Duke Carolina lead up without seeing that play. It's forever tied to it. But that incident is double-edged. On one hand, you've got the Mandela effect of Mike Krzyzewski having never actually said Gerald Henderson is the victim. He was just saying, look, man, this sucks for him. That this is what he's going to be remembered for. I got what Coach K was saying. But every time that Coach K says something, it gets twisted into a variety of ways. But the problem is he doesn't help himself. You just laid out, man, funny considering that Duke has a history under Mike Krzyzewski of absolutely, as you like to say, putting it in your ear.
Yeah.
This ran the hottest in 2016.
Okay.
Duke gets to the NCAA tournament and they get beat by Oregon. Dana Altman's the coach. He tells Dylan Brooks, hey man, shoot it. Game's ending. Game's over. Dylan
Okay.
Brooks just jacks up a shot. Altman told him to do it.
Sure.
Just I forgot the exact context as to why shoot it if this happens, but Altman told him to do it. After the game, you see Mike Krzyzewski and Dylan Brooks at the handshake line. And Coach K did the classic, I'm going to say something to a player. Hold here, hand on the chest. We're going to talk.
Teachable moment.
Dylan Brooks said, oh yeah, Coach K told me I was too good of a player to be doing that. This gets back to the press conference, and Coach K says this.
Apparently after the game, Dylan said that you told him that he was too good of a player to be showing off at the end like that.
I didn't say that.
Oh, because he apparently said of you that
Well,
you were right.
You can say whatever you want. Dylan Brooks is a hell of a player. I said, you're a terrific player. And you can take whatever he said and then go with it.
Well, got to remember, at this point, it's 2016. Cameras are rolling. There's audio everywhere. And sure enough, CBS put out the audio of what had happened. It's a little fuzzy there, but Coach K does say you're too good of a player to do that. Dylan Brooks apologizes. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right? Now, why does this matter? Because in 2016, Grayson Allen was also happening.
Oh, no.
Fast forward to the next season in December in Greensboro for a neutral site game against Elon. Was Steven Santa Ana. He gets tripped up by Grayson Allen. This is the third incident for Grayson Allen. And Mike Krzyzewski goes to the press conference and he's like, oh, he's been punished. We lost our composure. It wasn't a Grayson Allen thing. Our team, he was covering for Grayson Allen again. Mind you, this was the third incident for Grayson Allen. And after all that, it's the continual thing of I'm telling other players how to act in public, and I won't hold my own players to the same kind of accountability. And 2016 was the flashpoint for that because you had just had the Dylan Brooks stuff while you still had Grayson Allen, and you were essentially covering for him. And this is not a JJ Redick situation where Grayson Allen was getting unfairly ripped by fans. Like, Grayson Allen brought a lot of this stuff on himself. He needed to work through whatever he needed to work through.
Yeah.
But the way it was presented by Coach K in 2016 was not helpful. This, of course, gives us the indefinite suspension. The indefinite suspension lasted one game. Now, context is important. Remember, Coach K was going in for a scheduled surgery, and they were giving the reins over to Jeff Capel. And I'm pretty sure that K was looking out for his guy and said, fine, I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. He served his one-game suspension. We're done here. I've made it happen. Now let's get back to the season, right? Speaking of Jeff Capel, we fast forward to 2020, before the world shut down.
Oh, man.
Capel's there with Pitt.
So just real quick on Grayson Allen.
Yeah.
Mike has 3 daughters.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's 3.
And so kind of throughout his career, there would be certain players that you saw that he would take a shine to. Wojo, obviously one of them. Grayson Allen was one of them, and he kind of looked at like a son.
Yeah.
Like somebody who was trying to help.
Yeah, not the first.
And Grayson, I think he was on the championship team the first year.
As a freshman.
And he kind of stuck
bench minutes.
around, and it was like a little bit of like, okay, this is like my last chance to have a relationship, a multi-year relationship with somebody. So it was kind of complicated how that whole thing worked out. I think, there was probably more to it than the superficialness that we would see.
Yeah.
But ultimately, Grayson Allen is, as we've seen in the NBA, of him still tripping and breaking people's arms and playing in a certain way. That's just not
that's the rep
way to play.
No.
And I think there was probably more to Grayson Allen than we gave him credit for. But I also think Mike kind of took it as, in an era where his roster changed every year, this was like a last chance for him to kind of coach somebody in a way that he felt like he could maybe meaningfully change his life.
We've told the stories of the championships. We've told the stories of the dynamics in the rivalry. One thing about Mike Krzyzewski that I will always say is that when we've needed time with Mike Krzyzewski, we've gotten time with Mike Krzyzewski. But if there's one weakness to Mike Krzyzewski in the last 25 years when we talk about triangle good stuff, is that he does have a knack for telling you how to play the game.
Sure.
Or how to even cheer during games.
Which, he's probably, in his brain, has earned that right.
Ask how to ask questions. He'll have multiple incidents where, most recently in the pandemic, where he got on a student reporter. Like, oh, well, what major are you? Why are you asking me this question now? Would you want to get asked the question after you just finished a test? Like those kind of things, right?
Sure.
It goes all the way back to the Seth Davis days when he was at the Duke Chronicle before he became Seth Davis, of a very famous incident where he brought Duke Chronicle people in and be like, why are you ripping me all the time?
Right.
We're a good team. You should be supporting us, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So Coach K has a very specific way in which he feels things should be done, right? And sometimes he gets so caught up in it, he kind of loses face a little bit. For instance, I get back to 2020. The Cameron Crazies see Jeff Capel, and they're saying, Jeff Capel, sit with us, which is the classic Cameron Crazy thing where you see a recruit there and you tell him to come sit with them.
Yeah.
Right? We talked about this with Darian Mensah while we were at ACC kickoff. So the joke was, hey, it's Jeff Capel, Duke player, former assistant. Now he's the head coach at Pitt. They were showing him love by saying, hey, Jeff Capel, come sit with us. You know, like that kind of fun stuff. Coach K did not pick up on that, though. He thought that they were saying, like, F you, Jeff Capel. So in the middle of the game, he starts yelling at the Crazies, no, he's one of us. Why'd you stop it? And then this was another classic Coach K telling people how to be fans.
So it's a mistake on my part, but I'd rather make the mistake in protection of my guy. And then I went just at the end of the half and said, look, he's our guy. You know, he's our guy. And if any, you know, that's it. So I apologize for the, you know, but, you know, let's think of a different cheer. Let's put it like defense. Let's go. Come on, Duke. You know, let's go, Duke. Come on, man. Leave the other guy alone.
That was an older, softer Mike Krzyzewski because he never would have suggested those types of things back in the day, right? Now, this is an exercise for Duke fans that are listening. Ultimately, what this is an exercise in that Mike Krzyzewski can say what he needs to say and people are going to use it as a Rorschach test.
Yes.
Every single time.
Yes.
And it was no clearer than later that year after the world shut down. But the lights got to stay on, Joe. Lights got to stay on. So they're playing basketball. Guys are dealing with COVID. And this is after they lose to Illinois later in that year. And he brings up very good points about the current state of college athletics, the pandemic, and what are we doing here?
We're just plowing through this. Yeah, I was texting with Steve Forbes last night, you know, his own son got it. 5 players got it. You know, really even we should get updates as to how many programs are on pause a week, how many cases there were, what's going on, and instead of just plowing through. Look, I know somebody will take what I'm saying tonight and make it like I'm making excuses. I hope I don't make excuses. We need to get a lot better, but for the good of the game and the good of the safety and the mental and physical health of our players and staff and whatever, we need to constantly look at this thing.
Of course, that's when your guy at Alabama took it and made fun of it. Like, oh, would you have said that after a win? Would you have said, like, what are we doing here? Yada, yada, yada. But Coach K was right. We're plowing through this. What are we doing here? We understood what was going on.
Yeah.
There just was no leadership around it.
Yeah, this was early in that college basketball season. Football had already been kind of exposing college football for the multi-billion-dollar business that it is.
And mostly because I remember at that time, it was a classic, oh, we're in constant communication. This is John Swafford about what to do with the football season. And then the Big Ten goes and does their Leroy Jenkins bit about, oh, no, we're not doing it, until they realized, oh, wait a minute. This season's still going and we could potentially lose money. Fine. We'll alter how we go about it. But Kay was right. Kay was absolutely right about that stuff. And honestly, Kay's been right about a lot of things as it relates to the state of college basketball.
Oh, yeah.
And after the 25 years, when he starts talking big picture about college basketball, the lack of leadership, the ACC and how it brands itself, and getting away from what's made the ACC what it is, he has been right every single time. And one of the more frustrating parts about Mike Krzyzewski in retirement, people treated it as though he wanted to get away from what the game had been today. No, he adapted better than anybody and won championships during multiple eras of college basketball. But because it's Coach K, because of those 40-point drubbings, because of telling people how to act, all that stuff ends up being cheapened a little bit even though he had really, really good points.
The best point he made was in 2017 after the FBI quote unquote scandal was revealed.
Yes.
He made a very salient point about basketball, wherein he said, you can make money playing basketball at every level except ours.
Funny how that
we
works.
refuse to kind of adjust.
Now you're probably wondering, Joe, how in the world are you going to go from Mike Krzyzewski talking about the pandemic into
is it butt slap time?
Into hockey?
Let's take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hill.
I could use a smoothie right now because we're going long, man. We're going so long. I need an Almond Brothers right now, man. I need a green smoothie to stamina, baby. I got to keep going. You can do that with Happy and Hail. Go. I'm get on the app right now and order. Use the promo code OG25 to save 25% off your order. Pick up and go with our friends at Happy and Hail. Again, download the app. Use that promo code OG25. You're thinking, whoa. How are you going to mix this into hockey? Well, that was in late 2020. By the time we get into 2021, we get a vaccination and things start to we start to come out of the social distancing, the masking and everything else. And in middle of May, as we're actually having non-bubble playoff hockey, and the Carolina Hurricanes are getting ready to host the Nashville Predators, there was some concern of, well, man, they haven't, like, the social distancing stuff. It's going to be really hard to pack out that building. Well, Roy Cooper is the governor at the time. And what do we know about Roy Cooper, who's running for Senate right now? What do we know about Roy?
He's a big hockey fan. Canes specifically.
It just so happens that the week before the Canes are getting ready to host playoff games, this happens.
Well, today I have great news to share with the people of North Carolina. Effective immediately, we are lifting all mandatory capacity and gathering limits and social distancing requirements and most mandatory mask requirements. That means in most settings, indoors or outdoors, the state of North Carolina will no longer require you to wear a mask or to be socially distant. This is a big step forward in living our lives the way they were before the pandemic.
Now, I'm not suggesting that Roy Cooper just happened to do this before the Canes started hosting playoff games in 2021.
But Nashville, the state of Tennessee, had a similar move, and the building for the Nashville Predators home games.
Yeah. Now, the NHL still had their own restrictions.
Sure.
You could only put 12,000 people at Lenovo Center or PNC at the time. I was there that day, and that was a surreal experience because we got to remember, we didn't know when we were going to be able to do this again.
Yeah.
And most importantly, and the reason why I bring all this kind of stuff up is at that time, there had been a complete reset of the Carolina Hurricanes, the culture with Rod Brind'Amour, and we were still in the throes, feeling good with the identity of a bunch of jerks, which I would argue, ceiling is the roof, all these other quotes that we've had today. I don't know if there's a much more impactful moment than Don Cherry, Hockey Night in Canada, deciding to go on, be mad about the storm surge celebrations that were happening at that time because the Canes were just trying to get people to feel good in 2019, man.
Yes.
And I'll get to why they needed to feel good in 2019. But this happens, and then an entire identity was born that still lives today.
In the military, we have traditions. We have, like the New Zealand All Blacks, the rugby team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why are you mad at
All right,
Carolina?
now let's listen. This is the National Hockey League. Brind'Amour is a good coach. These guys, to me, are jerks. You have to do this in the national. They're still not drawn. This is to me, and I'll tell you one thing, they better not do this in the playoffs. What I don't understand is Brind'Amour is a street shooter. He always was. This is a joke. The rest of the guys, young men expressing themselves for joy of winning. You don't do this thing in the net. It's professional hockey. What are these guys, jerks or something? And I'll tell you one thing. They do this in the playoffs, making fun of the other team.
But nobody's out on the ice. The game's over. I admit, I always liked your theory of when you celebrate when you win only. That's why you liked Muhammad Ali, whereas Sugar Ray Leonard did the
before.
shuffle.
Now, you don't, if you want to do it before. But that is absolutely ridiculous. I know the rest of the people. I know all the broadcasters and everything are afraid to say something like that. They're jerks doing it.
I kind of like it.
I know you. Well, you look at the weatherman. You know what I mean? I know what I'm talking about. You never do anything like that. They're still not drawn. They're a bunch of jerks as far as I'm concerned. Imagine Justin Williams doing stuff like that.
It
Ridiculous.
seems a little odd. I got to give you that.
Justin Williams had the idea. That's the best part about it. I forgot how
I started with the military and then the New Zealand All Blacks. What does the military and the New Zealand All Blacks?
I forgot how incoherent Cherry was.
Anything.
Incoherent.
They're still not drawn. I think you said that like 3 different times.
They're still not drawn. Actually, no, they were drawing at that point. You want to know why Canes fans are the way that they are? That's why. That's a big reason why.
And
of course,
how much longer after this did he make inappropriate racist comments? And get
not
fired?
Not long after. He eventually gets fired after that. But really, the identity was kind of set in stone there with a bunch of jerks.
You don't celebrate. You celebrate before? Is that what he was trying to say?
You want to do this before the game? No, it doesn't work out that way, dude. It doesn't work out that way. So there was a reason why they weren't drawing, though. There was a reason why they weren't drawing. It's because Peter Karmanos, the owner at the time, had essentially run the franchise into the ground. And the nadir of this...
let the franchise atrophy into the ground.
Okay. That's probably a better way of putting it. That's why you're a writer. I'm not.
I don't think he was like willingly manipulating and sabotaging. I think it was more of like, no, we don't have money for that. I just got sued by my own kid. I got another divorce. I got this. I got that.
Well, he was also miserable too. Let's go to 20.
I don't live here.
Let's go to 2015. Well, Tom Dunn doesn't live here. It doesn't bother him.
I care about the Red Wings. I have a suite at the Columbus Arena.
That's pretty funny. So Karmanos, before he had sold it to Tom Dundon, there was a pivotal interview that he had done with John Forsland in 2015. I believe this was during a game against, if I remember correctly, it was a game against the Rangers in which they lost and they were effectively knocked out of playoff contention. So Forsland is there to just be the facilitator to get Karmanos to speak to the people who were growing very frustrated with a franchise that had not made the playoffs since 2009 when they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals on another miracle run. They got swept by the Penguins. This is from the Luke DeCock story at the time. By the end of it, Karmanos had not only insulted the intelligence of every sentient fan, but even tried to bully Forsland, who, despite being an accommodating interrogator, as Karmanos might find, was forced to treat his boss like a hostile witness on the stand in one memorable exchange. Is this a situation where you are compiling, getting as much information as possible, and that's a healthy exchange so you can get all that out there and stand behind that belief? This was after Karmanos had said, I need you to be even more patient.
Yes.
I need you, despite the fact that we aren't making the playoffs, to buy season tickets, spend money on this product that is not winning. So Forsland's like, okay, so you got things in the hopper that would lead you to believe that that's going to turn around, right? And his response was, yeah, I guess. All right. It isn't like I've lived in a vacuum the whole season. That, ladies and gentlemen, 2015 was the low point of being a Carolina Hurricanes fan. There was a little Stockholm syndrome that happened. And you got to remember, too, that after all the momentum that had been gained from a Stanley Cup appearance in 2002 to winning it in 2006 and then getting back there in 2009, it was almost like, here we go again. They're going to be going back to irrelevance. All the gains that he had made are going away because you're just losing an entire foundation of fan base because of all this atrophy, as you set out. As an experiment, I decided to go back, a mental experiment. I decided to go back and listen to the Chuck Caton, John Forsland Stanley Cup winning call.
Okay.
It's as clunky as I remember, but then I realized why it was clunky.
Balling bobbled it, but it's hacked away by Kevin Adams. The Bridgeboro fires at an open net that's blocked by Pronger. And as he goes after the spindling puck with 3 seconds to go, turns, lobs a long slap shot over the crossbar. And the Hurricanes have won the Stanley Cup with a 3-1 decision. A complete reversal of form from game number 6, where it looked like the sun was setting on their hopes. They have come up and have risen from the hockey morgue and have won this Stanley Cup of 06 with a tremendously large team effort. And as they are mobbing each other, as I said earlier, John, 9,393 days of frustration. And on the 394th day of NHL existence, the Carolina Hurricanes, the Whaler organization till 97, have won the Stanley Cup. And my friend, I am so happy you were at my side to see it.
Wow. It was the Forsland wow that got me. I forgot about the Forsland wow. Think about that. John always has something to say. Oh, in the moment. He's always
yeah.
been the professional. He knows what to do at that time. He was speechless, and it made me real. No wonder. And Caton, once you get past over the crossbar, all that kind of stuff, right? You're realizing in real time that these two guys who have been part of that organization for a very long time, Chuck from the beginning, are in shock. A, that this franchise won the whole thing. B, given how things had gone, because remember, they were ready to roll that Stanley Cup out in Game 5. And then they lose, and then they go to Edmonton and get their ass kicked. So there's all sorts of stuff that's going on there. And going back and listening to that call again on the radio, I go, makes a lot of sense. You are listening in real time. These two guys who have been around this organization in complete shock that it actually happened.
Yeah, I think sometimes, particularly Gen X, when we were growing up, if you were to tell us that the Red Sox were going to win a World Series, you'd be like, no, that doesn't happen.
No.
If you were to tell us that the Cubs would eventually win one, you'd be like, no, that doesn't happen. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their creamsicle, pirate on the side of the head, a team that was winless was going to win the Super Bowl. You'd be like, no, that didn't happen. What are you talking about? The Whalers would be in that group of franchises that if you had said to us back in the 80s, hey, guess what? Not only are they going to win a championship, they're going to move to North Carolina.
Right.
You got to remember when they moved to North Carolina too, those first 2 years in Greensboro were just a complete
brutal
and total laughingstock.
Brutal.
I mean, they were the mockery of the league.
You ready to take this thing home?
Are we going home with the Got Man?
You ready to take this thing home? Before we bring it home, you need to bring the meats home. Go to the Butcher's Market. Go to thebutchersmarkets.com. They got everything you need. Everything you need for your tailgate, by the way. So go to thebutchersmarkets.com or utilize them like I do. They've got the frozen, ready-to-go meals. Just stick them in the oven. Manicotti is really, really good. So is the chicken marsala. Highly recommend. So go to the Butcher's Market.
It's a great combo. We talked to Eric from NC Grill Rescue earlier in this program. So
just a suggestion.
Get your grill cleaned, get it shined up and ready for this football season. And then, of course, go and get... I'm allowed to promote the hot dogs again, I feel like.
I think so,
I've been on a long enough hot dog probation.
You can go, yes.
Then I can go back to my fastball and
good.
Say, go get the unbelievable hot dogs from our friends at Butcher's Market.
Also, maybe you go to Longleaf Swine and you're inspired. Like, man, this brisket's excellent. Maybe I can try brisket. Oh, they did duck the other day.
I saw that.
Jacob got the duck special. It was actually really freaking good. You know what? They got duck at the Butcher's Market. Look, you might get inspired by going to Longleaf and you can go try it at home. But in the meantime, go to longleafswine.com. Check out the brunch. Check out their specials. And of course, you can get OG Light at Longleaf Swine. You can also get OG Light at the Butcher's Market. Very, very clutch.
Yes, you can.
Maybe you're not in a beer mood.
What?
It's okay. You can go to Nature's Relief.
Oh, I'm like, wait a second.
That's fine.
What?
Maybe you're not in a beer mood. You go to Nature's Relief. Go to naturesreliefhempstore.com. We're going to be at Nature's Relief.
We are 821.
So get hype on that. Which location?
Garner
location,
Timber
821. We'll have a great time. So thanks to our friends at Nature's Relief. You can check them out online at naturesreliefhempstore.com. Again, that's naturesreliefhempstore.com. All right, let's bring this epic episode home, shall we? Let's revisit some NC State shit and then look into the future to see how we might view things in the next 25 years, shall we? You really can't talk about NC State shit. You really can't talk about the Got Man. You can't talk about Kevin Keats. You can't talk about Dave Dorn without Debbie Yao. So we go back to the epic coach search, going back to the beginning of this episode with Gary Williams and Maryland. There's always a connection. It's all tied together. So after a tumultuous coaching search that results in her having to break glass in case of emergency after she'd sent an email out to everybody about the current state of the coaching search, they have the press conference. And I forgot who it was that asked her about, like, hey, there's very, very public stuff was going on. What is your relationship with coaches? What is your relationship as an AD? And Debbie was like, F that noise.
Guys, come on. I don't have a reputation across all men's basketball as being difficult to work with. I have a reputation of not getting along with Gary Williams, who has tried to sabotage the search. Come on. We all know that. Okay, so whatever.
Sabotage. that dominated.
That's classic Debbie right there.
Sabotage. That was Gary talking to other coaches? Yes. Was Gary relating his experience working with WL? Yes. Was Gary still so bitter about Debbie that during his retirement, he still found ways to give subtle shots to Debbie Yao while talking to John Feinstein, RIP? Yeah. All that stuff is there. Sometimes it just be like that. The AD coach relationship. I mean, Roy ends up at Carolina because of a coach AD relationship.
There was obviously some oil and water there.
There was
between Debbie and Gary Williams, and Shaka Smart is the one that she has identified as the saboteur,
the actual saboteur,
the one who was sabotaged her efforts to land Shaka.
This was something that followed the Gottfried era the entire time, and Gottfried got up to his credit. Gottfried kind of revitalized some stuff. I mean,
I think my juices flow all the time.
He certainly was a quote machine. There's a plane waiting for you. I mean, they speaking of identities, we had the bunch of jerks identity with the Canes. State needed a new identity, and State's new identity under Gottfried at the beginning was, oh man, they're the last team in the NCAA tournament getting announced. And look on, the Piccolo girl, they get to the Swedes, all that stuff, right? That was the new identity under Mark Gottfried.
Yeah, his first 4 teams made the NCAA tournament, mostly in dramatic fashion. The first team in particular did not win a game of consequence until they beat St. Bonaventure, who ended up winning the A-10 on a last-second shot. They beat Virginia and Tony Bennett down in Atlanta, and that really kind of sealed their ability to get in. Then they made a run, and they get to the Sweet 16, and they're in Columbus, and they're getting ready to play Georgetown, and he gives us there's a plane waiting for you to take you to St. Louis.
Those are ones that have been covered. We've gone through those. We've brought those up.
I think my juices flow all the time.
We'll play that one all the time.
That one was now 12. They make the Sweet 16. Yeah. Everyone's excited. They're number 6 in the country and 13.
Mm-hmm.
That team flailed.
Yep.
They barely get in. They lose to Temple. That season was just a disaster. There was no attention on the next team, which of course, when the least is expected, you get the most.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no attention on that team. They were not talking about NC State.
Your nephew just watched his uncle beat number 1, Julius.
Yeah, we beat them. If they number 1, then now we number 1 according to rankings. But we don't want to take none of that. We want a good game against a good team, and we're still humble, and we don't want to be ranked. We want to be. We don't want to be ranked.
You do not want to be preseason number 6.
No.
So when that was Todd Gibson had asked him the question in that summer press conference.
Yeah.
Does it get your juices flowing?
I think my juices flow all the time.
That you're being doubted now and that you're not preseason number 6.
Right.
My juices flow all the time.
I think my juices flow all the time.
Classic.
So they end up making the tournament that year. That's the TJ Warren year. He's an unbelievable year. Then the next year, Trevor Lacey, after sitting out from transferring from Alabama, Trevor Lacey, still to this day, one of my favorite players of all time at NC State. Ralston Turner, one of my friends now.
Yeah.
Was on that team. They make the Sweet 16. We went over. They lose to Anton Gill. Then that's where it really starts falling apart. Trevor decides after 15, Trevor had another year of eligibility, but he was going to be 24.
Yeah.
And he said, and he's subsequently told me, everyone knew I wasn't coming back. So he leaves. It becomes like this state of panic. They had a bunch. Kyle Washington transferred from that team.
Mm-hmm.
They had the Twins were there the next year, but then they lose the Twins. And then his last 2 teams are just a real kind of tire fire all around.
So take me to January 11th, 2017.
Okay. So that last team, now you have Dennis Smith Jr. So 16, they're not good.
Yeah.
And they had the rescue squad on the bench. It was Torrin Dorn who was sitting out. It was Dennis Smith who had enrolled early because he tore his ACL. And it was Terry Henderson. Terry, I'm a big fan of Terry. So they had waited and they all sat on the bench and everyone was like, okay, next year,
here we come.
Here comes the rescue squad. We're going to turn this thing back around. We're going to be really good. Blah, 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 blah. So the season starts out and Dennis was good.
He was fine.
Dennis was good, but it was kind of like, I don't think Dennis was immature. And I don't think Dennis really understood the assignment, as in the very first game they played Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern had a player from Georgia and the kid outplayed him straight up.
Yeah.
He was like a 5'8" guard who outplayed him.
Yeah.
And I even said to him after the game, like, and the State won the game by 2 points. I even said to him, like, you get that, like, you have a target on you and that people, especially from this state, when they play you, they're going to want to make their name against you. Oh, yeah, whatever. And I'm just like, and I remember the assistant at the time, I said to him, I go, well, what did you think of this game? He's like, oh, he should have benched Dennis in the first half. He's afraid to. I was like, oh boy. So anyway, they kind of get through the first part of this schedule. Then they beat Virginia Tech. They looked like $1 million. They beat a good Virginia Tech team, 104-78. They go to Carolina. The game was supposed to be played on a Saturday, but there was weather. There were weather issues, winter weather issues. So the game got delayed till Sunday. State loses in Dennis Smith's only trip to the Smith Center. 107-56 is the most lopsided loss in the history of the series.
It's brutal.
51 points. So the next game they play is during the week. It's up at Boston College. Boston College had Jerome Robinson. Boston College had Kai Bowman. They were not a bad team. However, NC State was actually like ahead in the game. They had a chance to win the game. They kind of frittered it away in the second half. So they end up losing to Boston College 74-66. Now, I am literally the only person in the media at this basketball game.
You understand people won't interpret this as progress.
Don't care.
Yeah.
Don't care if you do. No, I don't really give a shit if anybody does. We got better tonight. You know, we've played 4 games in the league. 3 of them been on the road. And this is a better Boston. Most people think Boston College is just, they're just not very good. But they're wrong. They beat Providence, beat Syracuse. They're a good team. So our team got better tonight. And, it's a long season. And we got a lot of young players playing. It's like Omer. I love the guy. But he's a freshman. He's learning on the road. And Markell was fantastic. Dennis was really good. Played through getting hit in the face. And, we had a lot of great things happening for us tonight. So I know our team got better, and we're going to keep getting better. Let's go from there.
To finish my question, in which way do you think your team got better?
Well, I think we fought through adversity tonight. We defended better. We ran our offense better. As long as we don't turn the ball over, we executed things much better than we have. We got good shots when we didn't turn the ball over. A lot of times they didn't make them, and that's part of the game of basketball.
Okay. I want to get back to finish my question. Classic Giglio asshole follow-up. But how'd you get better tonight? Well, we did this. Had we not done this? Well, other than the turnovers. And I'm sitting here like, where have I heard this before? Where have I heard this before? Ah, yes, Jeff Bisdelic.
Our radio people told us that you take away those runs, and we outscored them by 19.
What? You just take away that run. Hey, man, take away the turnovers. Take away that. Blah, blah. We're fine. We got better tonight.
We got better tonight. I
don't give a shit what you think.
Yes, technically, Mark, you gave up 74 points after giving up 107.
But we got better.
You did not lose by 51.
We got
technically, you could have lost by 50 and still gotten better. This was just Mark at the end of his rope, and this was me just kind of letting him hang himself with his rope.
Well, it's funny you mention,
because it wasn't just Jerome Robinson. Jerome Robinson used to sleep over at his house.
Right.
He was good friends with one of his sons.
And Kai Bowman's out from what, Havelock, right?
Yeah. Kai had 19. Jerome had 26 in this game.
Yeah, dude, come on now. So Mark gets fired. Coaching search number 2 happens with Debbie Yao.
Mark gets fired with 4 games left.
Brutal.
And it was like the Bunting-esque. She let him finish because she had a soft spot for him. And when he got fired at Alabama, he felt like it was a stain that he wasn't able to finish the season to get another job. So he had convinced her to let him coach the final 4 games of the year because it would help him get another job.
It's funny you mentioned that because Bunting did go out in a very similar fashion.
Yes.
And there's the AD thinking about the future of the head coach is a through line because Dick Fedora did the same thing with Matt Doherty. And I want to let him resign rather than firing him because it'll help him get another job. He ended up going to FAU after that. But there's a key difference between John Bunting getting fired after the Virginia game where they lost 23-0 up in a house of horrors up in Charlottesville and how he ended his time versus Bart Godfrey. Bunting at least went out with a win over NC State and a win over Duke at Wallace Wade to give one. And I cannot find the audio and it bothers me to this day. Where he basically does like a giant F you. I walk out of here with wins over those 2 schools. Peace the fuck out.
Didn't answer any questions. You can read my book.
Boom. Done. Classic John Bunting.
Still waiting for the Bunting book.
Gottfried, man, that season needed to end ASAP.
Gottman got smoked by Wake.
Yep.
Which Debbie, I remember that day he called me and he goes, I don't think she's going to fire me unless she can hire Archie. And I was like, I don't know, Mark.
I don't know, dude.
And then they played Wednesday night. That was Saturday. I remember that was a Saturday. They lost by 30 down at Wake.
Yes.
And I'm like,
And then they get to the ACC tournament.
No, the next week, that Wednesday, they played Carolina back at home.
That's right.
And they got smoked again, 97-73. She fired them the next day.
And then there was a no-show in the ACC tournament, and you see both him and Dennis Smith walking down the court together. That was a big thing because we all knew the end of it. So we get to Kevin Keats. And this is where we get into the eventual stuffing of the stuff. It's just that Kevin Keats was a little premature.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to March 2018.
Yeah, this is the next year.
They beat Louisville at PNC Arena.
Yeah, to close out the regular season, 11-7 in the league, and that kind of clinched their spot in the NCAA tournament.
We've been able to take a group that most people say couldn't win or wasn't tough enough, or what do you guys call it, that NC State stuff? What is that? I don't know what that is, but the NC State stuff, and right now we've been able to stuff the stuff. So I would love to not hear the NC State stuff anymore after this regular season. So, I'm proud of these guys.
We did not hear the end of NC State stuff, NC State shit after that.
I remember telling Kevin eventually, like, don't dump the Gatorade.
Don't.
So they beat Louisville. They did get into the NCAA tournament.
They did.
But the very next game, after saying they stuffed this stuff, they lose to Boston College in the ACC tournament. Again, that would have been Jerome and Kai. Then they get to the NCAA tournament. They lose to Seton Hall in a high-scoring kind of fast-paced game. And then, like 2 or 3 weeks later, then the day after they lose to Seton Hall, Omer Yurtseven transfers
out.
And then like 2 or 3 weeks later, Kevin tears his Achilles playing pickup basketball.
He tempted the stuff.
And I was like,
and look,
Kevin,
he didn't have to believe in it. Debbie certainly did not believe in it.
You can't say you stuffed the stuff.
And he found out the hard way. But there is one NC State coach who did believe in NC State shit. He did believe it. It was Dave Doran. And in 2021, September 2021, multiple overtime game against Clemson. Mind you, this is a guy who had been
had him dead to rights in 16.
Right.
I mean, it probably still keeps him up at night, to be perfectly honest.
You bring up 16. I think this was 17 was laptop gate bat in Carter Finley Stadium, was it not?
17 when they lose. That was Dave's best team. They should have won that game.
I'd like to know why there's a laptop on Clemson sideline that people are looking at too. I'd like that to be investigated.
Of course, Dabo has some fun with that. It's like, we did our investigation. We were getting another supply of towels because remember,
Bradley Chubb stole the towel from the quarterback.
She said we had Amazon drones coming down to deliver towels. That's why the laptop was just a student just trying to save the day. But he finally breaks through. Finally breaks through in 2021.
The curse is broken. NC State fans, finally. Finally. I've been here 9 years and seen a lot of crazy stuff. And people have talked about it and didn't believe it. But I got to tell you, I think it was real and it's not there anymore. So we can move on now and be happy about that.
No, Dave. No, you cannot move on. You simply cannot move on. But that Dave Doran saying there have been some crazy things, I think he's hit a zen point. I think that zen point happened after a win against Virginia where he dropped this gem.
Shit, be happy we won.
It's a different kind of Dave Doran.
Yeah.
It's a Dave who's seen some things, right?
Yeah.
But of course, as we all know, in 2024, NC State shit is officially killed by Kevin Keats.
Mm-hmm.
He was premature in 2018, but he killed it in 2024, and we move on. Now we kind of go into the future. I'm curious how these next 4 items, these next 4 items will be viewed in the next 25 years. Now, one of them did happen within the last 25 years, and that is 2023 Mack Brown, December signing day.
Oh,
this was after Dave Doran had done on camera.
Yeah.
It's been X amount of days since those pieces of shit over there have beaten us. Game's over. We moved on. We're already thinking about next season. Mac doesn't really.
That was November. Yeah.
Yeah. So we get to December, the first signing day. And this was the first indication. And I called it in real time that ended up being proven correct. that something broke with Mack, and it looks like he's lost his fastball. You started picking up on whispers that he was complaining about the administration, that he wasn't getting enough money, he wasn't getting enough support. And then he decides to use what typically his Super Bowl, where Mack always wins, a signing day. He decided to use that time to address what had happened back in November when they lost to NC State.
Last ball game with a rival school, after the game, the head coach of that school called our players a piece of shit. And I apologize for that language, but I've never heard something like that before, and I'm disappointed. I thought it was classless. It's not true. Number one, we didn't play well in the game. We didn't coach well in the game. It's been very well documented, and I got that. But you don't call kids a piece of shit. And I've addressed it with our team. I apologize to them. These kids are one of the top academic groups in America. They got an award for AFCA's top 13. They've won a Coastal Division. They've won a bunch of games. They've been to an Orange Bowl, been to 5 straight bowls. They represent us well. And from me speaking for them and their parents, they really didn't appreciate being called a piece of shit. Never heard that before. And very, very disappointed. But it is what it is. And we'll continue to work hard to try to be better.
Who's typing that fast?
I promise you that incredibly loud typing is Aaron Beard from AP.
So that was the first indication, the first red flag that Mack Brown was losing a little bit of his fastball, and that things having not turned around or beating State was finally getting to him.
Yeah, that's also the same year they literally did not show up for that football game, which still confounds me.
And that continued in the following season. Where was he quitting? Was he not? There were the whole dramas. Did he tell the team, like, I don't need to be here if you don't think I'm the guy? And I'm not going anywhere. So Mack lost.
He lost his way.
He lost
to
grip.
Your point.
He lost the grip on his PR savvy.
Yeah, the master communicator, the master promoter, the ultimate, media manipulator, the ultimate recruiter on recruiting day, his Super Bowl, is here still talking about something that had happened the previous month, and in a super embarrassing way, by the way.
And Dave and Mack had already talked in between that time.
Sure.
Dave had already apologized.
Sure.
And they had apparently, it was expressed to me that they had hashed that out.
Well, they used to have the same agent. They had a better relationship than Elfed and Dave.
Now, speaking of red flags, as I'm curious to see how things will be viewed for Mack when we go through another 25 years, Mack 2.0 specifically.
Yeah.
When we have time away from it in the same way we've had time away from looking at Bunting and whatnot.
Sure.
Right? Now we're getting into things happening in real time, and I'm going to be really curious to see how they're viewed in the next 25 years. We brought up Matt Doherty, how things have been memory hold. We've discussed Kevin Keats and the forever grateful that you won an ACC championship and you took us to the Final Four. Forever grateful, but get the hell out.
Get the fuck out.
This gets us to Hubert Davis 2022, where we had the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
Let's go to April 2022. Final Four. What do we get out of Hubert Davis, head coach?
Coach, how would you assess what you've seen?
Game, isn't it? We're competing out there. It's live action, Tracy. It's live action out there. I thought we were nervous at the beginning, then we started to settle in. We got better defensively. Now we're attacking the basket. We're ready to go.
Live action, baby.
Because I'm a Jayhawk.
Live action, baby.
Creative lyrics to that song.
Now, they don't win, but what happened before that? They beat Duke.
Oh, yeah.
In the Final Four.
Yeah, twice.
Forever grateful.
Yeah.
Ruined Coach K's. Ruined Coach K's farewell.
Awesome.
Double time.
Cool.
We're going to run this thing back, baby.
Amazing.
Number 1 in the country.
Preseason number 1.
Let's go to December. Later that year. Keep in mind, they beat Gardner-Webb in Chapel Hill. But they beat him in such a way that nobody was really... nobody was impressed. People were a little worried. And he got some questions about red flags.
And I don't think there's a red flag in terms of our team. I think there's some yellow flags. I think there's some yellow flags in terms of our toughness. I think there's yellow flags in terms of our sustained effort. I think there's some yellow flags in terms of our commitment to defense. I think there's some yellow flags in terms of our commitment to the scouting report and doing the things that you've been asked to do.
Those yellow flags ended up being red flags, and they ended up not making the NCAA tournament and opted out of playing in the NIT, which kind of set the table for what we're going to see later this year and how we talk about Hubert Davis.
Yeah, yikes. That was an indictment of not only that team, but I think you're right. I think ultimately we look back at that and say that was it for him.
Most likely. We'll see how it plays out.
They were supposed to be number one, and it wasn't just the Gardner-Webb game. I remember at the time I told you, when they didn't cover against Wilmington in the opener. And it was like, you're not the number one team in the country. Then they gave up 86 points to Charleston, and I was like, ooh.
So,
and then you throw in there the Gardner-Webb game where they won by 6. And it was pretty clear, all those things he said about toughness and not following the scouting report and not defending.
He was right.
It was like, ooh.
So I bring this up not as to it sets the table for what's going on with Hubert Davis this year as we look into the future. And also I'll be curious to see when it's over for Hubert Davis, because I'm anticipating that this will likely be it for Hubert Davis. If I'm wrong, hey man, I'm wrong. Awesome for Hubert Davis and Carolina basketball, because obviously they want to be right about the direction they're going in. How will it be viewed in the next 25 years? Is it a forever grateful type thing? You know, Guthridge gets to 2 Final Fours and people were just like, you gotta get him out, right? We're grateful for that. Obviously, we memory hold the Matt Doherty stuff. Hubert Davis is not going to be memory hold like Matt Doherty. What'll end up happening, I think, is that Hubert Davis will probably be viewed in the same way that people view Kevin Keats, in that, yeah, man, forever grateful, incredible year, incredible moment, but it was time to go in a different direction. I think that's how it's going to happen. And then, of course, now we see what unfolds with Bill Belichick.
I didn't come here to leave would have been the one quote I took from his.
But as I grew up, you know, you hear the same story over and over and over and over again. And so one story I always heard was Billy's first words were, beat Duke.
Better beat Duke. Better beat State too, by the way. But you got to beat Duke too. I know you're rolling your eyes.
Just keep thinking that, Bill.
And of course, the real kicker, the reckoning.
Here we are.
And when that happens at NC State, it's going to be a reckoning for the ACC. It's going to be a reckoning for college basketball. And it's coming. And it's coming soon.
So we got Billy's first words are beat Duke. You better go out there and beat Duke. And for Will Wade at NC State, there's going to be a reckoning in the ACC. All right, man. Better be a reckoning. Otherwise, in the next 25 years, who's ever doing this, because it's probably not us. I hope it's not us in 2050. If it's us in 2050, we've got serious problems. But in 2050, whatever format exists in 2050, and they look back on 2025 and they go back to the quotes from Bill Belichick. And like you said, I didn't plan.
I didn't come here to leave.
I didn't come here to leave and beat Duke and Will Wade with the reckoning. Be curious to see how the future generations look back on this particular year. Anyway, that was a marathon. I told you to buckle up. Today was going to be a journey. I told you it was going to be some free jazz.
Perfect.
And hopefully, y'all learned some things today.
I did.
Going back to our goals for all of this.
To finish my question.
To finish my question. So hopefully y'all...
Would you say it was prudent?
History rhymes, folks.
Dickhead.
History rhymes. And Giglio's an asshole. We'll see y'all for an OG Live tomorrow.